Chapter 3064. Fengjiu smiled and nodded. I just arrived. Call the people in the mansion to the main hall. Yes, he answered. When he turned around, his eyes seemed to inadvertently sweep past Yan-Shur-san and Qin Xan. This man is also very good-looking and has an extraordinary temperament. People who don't know him would definitely think that he's the son of an aristocratic family. I didn't expect him to be your subordinate. Wan Yan-Shur-san clicked his tongue as he stared at Leng Hua's departing figure. Fengjiu smiled and walked inside. The people under me are all good-looking. When they go out, they are all young masters of aristocratic families. This is not strange. They went to the front hall. Fengjiu sat on the main seat, Wan Yan-Shur-san sat on the lower left, and Qin Xan stood beside Fengjiu. After serving the tea, the servant respectfully retreated. Not long after, Ling Xuan carried the child into the hall. Master. She bowed and called out. Then, she looked at the person sitting in the main seat. At the same time, her eyes fell on Qin Xan and sized her up. Ya. Little Hao saw Fengjiu waving his hands excitedly. Even though her face was still disguised, that familiar aura still made him want to lean forward. Fengjiu put down the teacup in his hand and stood up. He walked forward with a smile on his face. Little Hao, did you miss your mother? As he spoke, he reached out and hugged him. Nyang nyang, nyang 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 nyang, that the little fellow imitated her voice and called out. He didn't know how to call out Nyang Qin, so he could only vaguely call out Nyang Nyang Fengjiu. He looked at her with sparkling eyes and saliva dripped from the corner of his mouth as he moved closer to Fengjiu's face. Even if it was a muffled voice, Fengjiu's eyes lit up when he heard it. My son can say Mom now. How obedient. She cupped his chubby little face and kissed it. Wan Yan-Shur-san and Qin were stunned as they looked at her with a joyful expression. Fine. Along the way, they saw Fengjiu. Sometimes she was cold, sometimes she was evil, and sometimes she was casual and lazy. However, she always had a noble aura, the aura of an expert, and an aura that made people not dare to be too presumptuous in front of her. However, when they arrived at the residence, they saw that she was smiling like a flower. She was very relaxed, which was quite different from when she was outside. Moreover, what surprised them the most was that she already had a child of this age. Your son. Wan Yan-Shur-san was stunned. He pointed at the child she was playing with and asked. Yes. My son, Xianyuan Hao. She grabbed the child's hand and waved at Wan Yan-Shur-san. Wan Yan-Shur-san stared at her from head to toe. His expression was strange and certain. He's not your biological child. Hearing this, Fengjiu smiled slightly. Hao was adopted by me. Except for the fact that he didn't come from my stomach, everything else is the same. I treat him as my own. Come, let me hug him. He rubbed his hands and reached for the child. Look at this chubby boy, his facial features are exquisite and outstanding. When he grows up, he will definitely be a handsome man who will charm thousands of girls. Hearing this, Fengjiu laughed and said proudly, Of course, can my son be bad? Aw. When the little fellow saw Wan Yan-Shur-san reaching out to hug him, he waved his hand away in disgust and hid in Fengjiu's arms. His other hand was still tightly grasping Fengjiu's clothes. Chapter 3065. Master. Master, you're back. Master. One by one, they came in from outside and called out excitedly while sizing up the other two people in the hall. Introduce yourselves. Fengjiu didn't help them introduce themselves. Instead, he was playing with the child while looking at them calmly. Introduce themselves. Everyone was stunned for a moment. Then, Leng Hua smiled gently and introduced himself. I'm Leng Hua, the housekeeper of the mansion. I'm Du Fan, good at formations. I'm Fan Lin, an alchemist and a doctor. I'm that they introduced themselves one by one and introduced themselves. When they were done, they looked at Wan Yenshir-san and Qin Axian. I'm Qin Axian. Master saved me on the way here. I'm not good at anything, but I'm good at playing the zither. She said softly. Compared to them, she was so ordinary and unremarkable. Moreover, her face was, thinking of this, she couldn't help but lower her eyes. I'm Wan Yenshir-san, the 13th uncle of your master's sworn sister. You can call me Wan Yen. He paused, touched his chin and thought for a while. Then, he smiled and said, call me 13th master. 13th master. When everyone heard that he was the 13th uncle of their master's sworn sister, they naturally didn't dare to neglect him. Moreover, he was brought back to the mansion by their master, so he must have some status. Qin Axian, since you're here, just treat this place as your home. You'll slowly get used to it. I'll take you to choose a courtyard later. Lang Hua said gently. Okay, thank you. Qin Axian nodded slightly and smiled. Lang Hua, I'll leave them to you. I'll go back to the courtyard first. Come find me later. Fengjiu stood up with the child in his arms and said to Lang Hua. Yes, master. Don't worry. Lang Hua replied. All right, I'll take this opportunity to visit your residence. Wan Yenshir-san said excitedly. Then, as if he had thought of something, he said, wait, where's your man? Why don't I see him? It was no wonder that he felt like something was missing for most of the day. After thinking for a while, he remembered that the male master of the manor hadn't appeared. If the child's name was Xianyuan Hao, then her husband's surname was Xianyuan. Why didn't I see anyone? She wondered what kind of man could tame a woman like Fengjiu. He's in seclusion and hasn't come out yet. Fengjiu said with a smile, if you have the chance in the future, come visit us more often. You will naturally have the chance to meet him. That's for sure. Not knowing that your home is here is one thing. Now that I know, I'll definitely drop by often in the future. He grinned. Just thinking about it made him happy. Fengjiu asked Leng Shuang to follow him and carried the child back to the courtyard. Leng Hua took Wan Yenshir-san and Qin Axian to look around the manor. He also asked someone to tell the kitchen to prepare food. After returning to the courtyard, Fengjiu asked someone to prepare warm water for a bath. She took the child into the bath with her. The two of them played in the tub for a while before getting up. She handed the child to Leng Shuang. After a while, she came out of her room. She changed into a red dress and restored her appearance. She was in such high spirits that people couldn't take their eyes off her. Ma, nyang nyang. The little fellow happily walked towards Fengjiu with his short legs. However, his legs were trembling. After taking 2 steps, he lost his balance and fell forward. Chapter 3066. The child's innocent laughter echoed in the courtyard, making those who heard it smile uncontrollably. Fengjiu played with Hao for a while, then carried him to Leng Shuang. Master. Leng Hua's voice came from outside the courtyard. Fengjiu looked over and saw him walk in. She smiled and lay down on the soft couch at the side, asking, "What's the matter with those people outside the residence? Why did they come to our residence to ask for medicine?" The news that Master is a venerated pill master has spread, so those people came here to ask for medicine. I told them to leave several times, but they didn't listen. Leng Hua was also quite helpless about this matter. The news must have come from the immortal sect. Well, since it spread, then let's use it to do something. She lay on the soft couch and looked at the sky with narrowed eyes. Hearing this, Leng Hua asked, "Master plans to do this as a business?" Fengjiu's lips curved. "That's right, I probably won't be going out for a while." "Since that's the case, then I'll just treat it as a practice. She paused, then instructed, go and record their requests and give them to me. Yes. He responded. Seeing that she had nothing else to say, he left. Ling Shuang, what do you think of Qin Xian? Fengjiu looked at Ling Shuang and asked with a smile. Master's taste must be good. She had always believed in her master, unconditionally. Whether it was the things her master did or the people she brought back, there must be a reason behind it. Don't just stand there, sit. Seeing that she was still standing, Fengjiu motioned for her to sit. Seeing this, Ling Shuang walked to the table and sat down, holding little Hao, who was gradually dozing off in his arms. Her zither skills are quite good, I'm preparing to. She chatted with Ling Shuang in the courtyard, telling him her plans. Although there were many people by her side and she trusted them, Ling Shuang and Ling Hua, this pair of brother and sister, were different in her heart. No matter how many people appeared by her side, they could not replace the two of them in her heart. They also seemed to know that they would only secretly pay attention to the people she took in, observing their words and actions, because they were worried that those people would hurt her. However, even if they were worried, they trusted her taste because they had never made a mistake. That night, the people of the Feng residence sat around the table filled with food and wine. They ate, drank, and chatted, especially Wan Yanshi-san, who was like a curious child, asking strange questions from time to time. Fengjiu, why is this residence? Why is it not the Xianyuan manor? Fengjiu, why did Xianyuan go into seclusion so easily? How can he calm down and go into seclusion? Fengjiu, is his strength stronger than yours? How did you two meet? Was he the one who chased you first? Or did you fall in love with him first? He must be a handsome man, right? Otherwise, you definitely wouldn't like him. Ha ha ha, does he have many suitors around him? Don't you need to help him get rid of them? The lively night ended with Wan Yanshi-san's curious gossip. As the night deepened, everyone returned to their own courtyards to rest. When Feng Nine returned to her room, slightly drunk, she sensed the presence of another person as soon as she entered the room. Chapter 3067. Xianyuan Mose flipped through the book in his hand. His deep gaze carried a trace of doting as he looked at her. His deep voice was very seductive in the night. If you didn't come out of seclusion, then who is the person warming your bed right now? I just came back today. I asked Lang Hua and the others, but they said you still haven't come out of seclusion. She walked forward with a smile, took off her coat and boots, and directly threw herself on top of him. You reek of alcohol. Xianyuan Mo said, but still closed the book in his hand and put it aside. He reached out and hugged her waist. I only drank a little wine. It's not as bad as the smell of alcohol. She smiled and her eyes narrowed. Her head arched in his embrace, and she found a comfortable position. Just like that, she laid on top of him with the quilt between them. She leaned on his chest. Since you came out of seclusion, why didn't you come out to meet everyone? It's too troublesome. Xianyuan Mo said. In his opinion, people who had nothing to do with her were all troublesome. I brought back a man and a woman. The man is my sister's 13th uncle. He's called Wan Yanshi-san. The woman is called Qin Xian. I saved her. She rubbed against his chest like a kitten and said, I went out this time and brought back 2 little things for you. Look. She flicked her sleeves and 2 tiger beasts came out of the space. They obediently squatted in front of the bed and looked at the 2 people lying on the bed together. Even the 2 beasts felt a little shy when they saw them. Master, your position is wrong. It should be the man on top and the woman below, not the woman on top and the man below. The male tiger kindly reminded. Fengjiu heard this and several black lines appeared on his forehead. However, Xianyuan Mose heard this and smiled. He glanced at the tiger beasts and said, we like this position. Fengjiu felt embarrassed when he heard this. Was it really okay to talk about this in front of two tiger beasts? She coughed softly and said to Xianyuan, "These two tiger beasts have reached the level of mythological beasts. I remembered that you said last time that it would be best to get two mighty beasts to guard the door, so when I saw these two tiger beasts, I felt that they were quite suitable and brought them back." Not bad. Xianyuan nodded and glanced at the two tiger beasts who were looking at them. "What are you still squatting here for? Go stand guard outside the manor's gate. From today onwards, you will be responsible for guarding the Feng Manor's gate." As soon as these words were spoken, the two tiger beasts clearly felt a pressure so strong that it made them tremble, pressing down on them. They didn't dare to say another word as they responded and left the room, heading towards the door. "Adieu, I missed you." As Xianyuan spoke, he leaned over and kissed her moist lips. Fengjiu was lying on top of him. Hearing this, she began to laugh. Reaching out, she wrapped her arms around his neck and passionately responded to his kiss. Only when she was out of breath did Xianyuan let go of her. Taking a deep breath, he slowly suppressed the flames that had surged through his body. Just as he was about to speak, Fengjiu suddenly jumped up from his body. "Your veins have been damaged." Fengjiu's expression changed slightly. Her hand was already on his pulse. Just now, she had faintly sensed that the aura in his body was a bit different, however, she never thought that it would be his veins that had been damaged. Seeing her nervous appearance, Xianyuan chuckled and comforted her. "Don't worry. I was just about to talk to you about this." Chapter 3068. "There was an accident when I was cultivating," he said simply, not wanting her to worry too much. "It's just that my meridians are damaged. My strength has dropped to 50% because of the damage to my meridians. Other than that, there's no big problem." "That's not a big problem." She glared at him and said worriedly, "When an enlightened master is injured, it can't be treated by ordinary pills. Moreover, the damage to your meridians is not a small problem. Also, your strength has dropped to 50% because of the damage to your meridians. This is very dangerous for you, do you know that?" As she spoke, she patted her face, dispelling the last trace of drunkenness. Then, she sat beside him and said, "You must have eaten the pill, but you can't see the effect. How about this? I'll try to repair it for you first. If it doesn't work, I'll think of something else. With the green lotus life force in your body." Xianyuan's expression turned serious. He said in a low voice, "You've used too much life force. It's also taxing on you. Moreover, your body. It's fine. Don't talk. Sit properly." She gestured for him to sit cross-legged with his back facing her. As soon as he spoke, he saw that she had already used her hands to apply spiritual qi to his back. Seeing this, he sighed softly and focused his mind to feel the life force. A green qi gradually spread out from Fengjiu's palms. That qi passed through his body and into Xianyuan's body, repairing his damaged meridians bit by bit. Using life force to repair wounds and internal injuries had a very high chance of recovery. However, for an enlightened master, what kind of effect would it have? The higher one's strength, the more resilient their meridians would be. It would be even harder to repair them. However, right now, she could only use all her strength to help him repair it. Because if his meridians were damaged for a long time, even if they could be repaired in the future, they would not be able to reach their initial peak. The life force of the green lotus flowed through his body, making him feel relaxed all over. He could feel the powerful aura of the spiritual energy. However, as the life force of the green lotus flowed through his body, he could feel that her aura was gradually becoming unstable. "Ah, Joe, that's enough," he said, trying to stop her. "Don't talk." As Fengjiu spoke, the sweat on his forehead slid down his cheeks. His hands were pressed tightly against Chu Li's back, continuously transferring the life force of the green lotus to him. Xianyuan Mose wanted to push her away, but he was afraid that he would hurt her. He was afraid that she would not be able to bear it, so he said, "Aju, I'm much better now. That's enough. You can stop now." Aju Fingzhou did not pay any attention to him. Instead, he concentrated on transferring the life force of the green lotus until his body could no longer take it. Only then did his hands loosen, and he collapsed onto the bed in exhaustion. In that instant, Xianyuan Mose turned around and caught her, allowing her to lean into his embrace. Looking at her pale complexion and the sweat on her forehead, he couldn't help but gently caress her face with heartache. "Ajo, why must you do this? How can your body withstand transferring so much life force to me? How do you feel? How much of your strength have you recovered?" Fingzhou asked in a weak voice. His entire body was limp, and he couldn't even lift his hand. "All right, you don't have to worry. Tell me the truth, I have to know." Fingzhou looked at him and said. Seeing this, Xianyuan Mose sighed softly. 70%. Chapter 3069. Don't think too much. Let's sleep. He hugged her as they fell onto the big bed and hugged her. Because she had used up too much spiritual power and the life force of the green lotus, she was very tired. Smelling the familiar scent and hugging the person who made her feel at ease, she fell into a deep sleep. The next afternoon when Lenghua came over and saw that his master was still asleep, he couldn't help but feel strange. Usually, his master would be awake at this time. Why wasn't there any movement today? He was a little worried and was about to knock on the door. However, at this time, he saw the door open. The Yama Lord, who was supposed to be in seclusion, walked out. Yama Lord. Lenghua was slightly surprised. Wasn't the Yama Lord supposed to be in seclusion? Why do you need something from her? Xianyuan Mose asked, walking to the courtyard and sitting down. Hui Lang appeared out of nowhere and placed a cup of tea on the table. Then, he stood quietly to the side. Lenghua glanced at Hui Lang, then respectfully said to Xianyuan Mose, "Master asked me to record the requests of the people outside the residence yesterday. I thought that Master should be awake by now, so I brought the records over for Master to take a look." When the people outside the residence heard the news, they were all very happy. Even though they knew that not everyone's request would be satisfied, they still had a trace of anticipation. "Let me see it," Xianyuan Mose said. "Yes," Lenghua replied, then took out a book and handed it over with both hands. Xianyuan Mose took the book and placed it on the table. He first picked up his tea and took a sip, then flipped open the book to look at it. Some of the requests were for medicinal pills, some were for good medicine, and some were for treating illnesses. What's more, they were the ones who provided the medicine, and they would be paid afterwards. After flipping through the recorded requests, he estimated that these things shouldn't be too difficult for Fingzhou. Then, he said, "You can leave. I'll bring it to her when she wakes up." "Yes." Lenghua responded. He bowed and left. It was rare for Hui Lang to be quiet. He stood aside without saying anything. Xianyuan Mose didn't say anything either. As time passed, Fingzhou lazily came out of the room when the sun was setting. "Awake? Come and eat something." Xianyuan Mose chuckled as he looked at the Fingzhou walking out. At this moment, the table was already filled with cooked porridge and stir-fried side dishes. It was simple and light. "Why are you up so early? Why don't you rest for a while?" Fengzhou walked over and sat down at the table. "I can't sleep," he said as he scooped a bowl of porridge for her. "How do you feel today? Give me your hand, and I'll check your pulse again." Fengzhou said, letting him take her hand out to check her pulse. "Much better. You don't have to worry." He curled his lips into a smile. He didn't give her his hand, but stuffed the spoon into her hand. "Hurry up and eat. We'll talk after you finish eating." Otherwise, the porridge and side dishes will get cold. Seeing this, Fengjiu glanced at her, then nodded. Let's finish eating first. There was no rush. Moreover, he said last night that he had recovered 70% of his strength. It was a good thing. The two of them were like an old married couple who had been in love for many years. They ate quietly, and the two of them helped each other with food from time to time. At the dining table, there was a kind of warmth and tacit understanding between the two of them. Chapter 30-70. What are you doing here? Hui Lang asked in a low voice. He glanced into the courtyard and saw that his master and the ghost doctor were talking, so he followed Leng Hua to the side. Isn't the Yama Lord in seclusion? Why did he suddenly come out? Leng Hua asked. Logically speaking, the Yama Lord shouldn't have come out during this period of time, but he did. Could it be that he had encountered some problems in his cultivation? Master had an accident when he was cultivating, and his meridians were damaged due to the backlash. He said not to tell anyone. Just keep it to yourself and don't tell anyone else, Hui Lang said in a low voice. Leng Hua was slightly surprised, but he wasn't surprised. Someone who should have been in seclusion had come out. He thought that something must have happened. Sure enough, after asking, he found out that the Yama Lord had an accident when he was cultivating, and his meridians were damaged. If an enlightened master's meridians were damaged, it would be very difficult for them to recover. If it was delayed for too long, he was afraid that I have to stay by master's side for this period of time. Go to the front later and tell Du Fan and the others that I won't be participating in any of the mercenary missions for now. He had to stay by master's side, so he didn't have to worry about anything else for now. Leng Hua nodded. I know, I'll tell them later. As soon as his voice fell, he patted Leng Hua's shoulder and turned to leave. In the courtyard, Fengjiu said to Xianyuan Mose, don't cultivate for now. Relax. I'll research and see if there are any pills that can repair your meridians. What about the 9 transformations golden pill? Xianyuan Mose asked. If it works, can't I just use the 9 transformations golden pill? The 9 transformations golden pill isn't a panacea. Fengjiu shook his head and smiled. It can revive a person who has just died, and it can also heal extremely serious internal injuries. However, when it comes to repairing the meridians of an Empyrean god, it still doesn't have a very obvious effect. After all, even the Green Lotus life force can only help you recover to 70% of your strength. She lightly sighed and said, the best medicine to repair the meridians for a strong person is the 1,000-year black spirit tendons. If you use it to refine a medicinal pill, not only will it allow your damaged meridians to recover, the tenacity of your meridians will also increase by another level. However, the 1,000-year black spirit tendons are very hard to find. I will go to the city's auction house to see if there is any news of the black spirit tendons. I'll go with you, he said. She shook her head. No need, you can stay at home. I'll be right back. Hearing that, Xianyuan Mose didn't say anything more. No one in Square City could hurt her, so he would let her go by herself. Thus, after chatting with him for a while, Fengjiu went outside, while Xianyuan Mose went ahead. A few people came to the mansion. Although he had heard about them from Ying Yi, he hadn't seen them yet, so he decided to go take a look. The purple gold spirit deer carriage was pulled out. Leng Hua drove the spirit deer carriage with Fengjiu outside the mansion. As the door opened, the people waiting outside the mansion gathered one by one. However, before they could get close, the purple gold spirit deer carriage swept past them and disappeared into the distance in the blink of an eye. The purple gold spirit deer carriage. That person came out. I heard that person has the appearance of an immortal, but I haven't seen her yet. That young Master Feng, no, young Miss Feng, no, she should be called Venerable. It is said that she likes red clothes, and her appearance is devastatingly beautiful, unparalleled. I really hope I can ask for medicinal pills from her. I hope she can treat my father's illness. Chapter 3071. Right now, her medicine is being sold outside. There is a market but no price. Otherwise, why would there be so many people waiting here every day? Looking at the entire city, there are not many people who have the face to enter the Foam Manor. The people gathered outside were all discussing this. They were waiting for an opportunity to obtain the medicine. On the other side, the spirit deer carriage stopped in front of the auction house's entrance. Lang Hua got out of the carriage and said, "Master, I will accompany you inside." "That's fine." Feng Zhou nodded and had him hand the carriage over to the auction house's people. The auction house's people recognized them. Upon seeing Feng Zhou, they immediately went to welcome them. "Young Miss Feng has come. Please come in." They then had someone lead the carriage to the side, while someone else quickly went to inform their master. Hearing that Feng Zhou had come, the auction house's owner, Tan Haoyan, walked out from inside and personally welcomed them. Seeing the red-clothed Feng Zhou, he revealed a smile. As the saying goes, one does not visit a temple without a cause. "Could it be that you have come for some reason? I want to ask, does your auction house have 1,000-year black spiritual tendons?" "Oh." Hearing this, Tan Haoyan's eyes slightly flashed, and he looked her over before saying, "Let's go upstairs and talk. Please." Saying this, he gestured for them to enter. Seeing this, Feng Zhou followed him into the building's side room. Once inside, tea and snacks were brought out. Tan Haoyan sat at the table and personally poured tea for Feng Zhou. Glancing at her, he said, "The 1,000-year black spiritual tendons are the main medicine for repairing veins. I see that your complexion is the same as before, and it doesn't seem like your veins have been damaged. Why would you want this medicine?" Feng Zhou picked up the tea and took a sip, calmly saying, "When your auction house's customers buy things, could it be that they ask for their use?" "Haha, of course not. I only asked a few questions because I care about you." He smiled, not caring that Lang Hua, who was behind Feng Zhou, was looking at him. Hearing this, Feng Zhou put down his teacup and picked up a piece of cake to eat. He glanced at him indifferently and said, "I only care if you have the 1,000-year black spirit tendons here." "No." He shook his head and said with a smile, "What kind of precious spirit medicine is the black spirit tendon? How could they be seen so often? Not to mention that I don't have it here, the other cities and towns, and even the 4 great immortal sects don't have it." Hearing this, Feng Zhou's brows furrowed, and his expression froze. She had originally thought that if she couldn't find it here, she would go somewhere else and search for it in the 4 great immortal sects. However, after hearing what he said, it seemed that the 1,000-year-old black spirit tendons were indeed extremely difficult to find. If that was the case, then it would truly be troublesome. "Do you really need this spiritual medicine?" Seeing her expression, he was a little surprised. "If I didn't need it, why would I come here?" Wasn't this a useless question? Tan Haoyan paused, as if he was thinking of something. "Do you know where it can be found?" Feng Zhou saw his expression and asked. He glanced at Feng Zhou and said, "I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. I don't know if it's true or not." Seeing that she kept staring at him, he sighed softly and said, "Inside the spirit void's secret domain, there are spirit medicines everywhere. However, the more precious the spirit medicines are, the stronger the guardian beasts. In addition, the spirit void's secret domain is the cultivation secret domain of the 4 great immortal sects. Unless one is a disciple of the 4 great immortal sects, no one can enter." Chapter 3072. Listening to his words, Feng Zhou couldn't help but ponder. He said that disciples above the peak of the nascent soul realm couldn't enter, but he also said that even if they used some method to enter, their strength would be suppressed. In other words, there was still a way to enter. Thinking of this, she glanced at him and said, "How did you know?" Tan Haoyan smiled and said, "A few years ago, someone disguised himself to look for medicine and accidentally found a 1,000-year-old black spirit tendon. However, there were powerful fierce beasts guarding it, so he couldn't get close. Later, when he was drinking and chatting with me, he mentioned it. However, I only heard about it from him. I didn't see it with my own eyes whether it really existed. Hearing this, she stood up and said, "Thank you. Goodbye. You're leaving." Tan Haotian looked at her. Fengjiu paused and looked back at him, saying, "If what you said is true, I will owe you a favor." Tan Haotian's eyes flashed, but he didn't speak. He just quietly watched her leave. A favor from Fengjiu. It seemed pretty good. Lang Hua drove the spirit deer carriage to send Fengjiu away. On the way, he asked, "Master, do you believe what he said? But even if it's true, how do we enter the secret land? Don't go back to the mansion first. Go to the Blue Star Immortal Sect." Fengjiu said and asked him to go in the direction of the Immortal Sect. Since it was related to Xianyuan Mo's, she had to confirm it again. "Yes." Lang Hua responded, turned around, and drove the spirit deer carriage directly into the sky, walking on air. Blue Star Immortal Sect. When they heard that a disciple quickly came to report that Fengjiu had arrived outside the Immortal Sect, CK and Mu Axian hurried down. When they arrived outside the sect, they saw the spirit deer carriage parked under a tree. They looked at each other and quickly walked up. "Master." The two of them called out. They were a little surprised by her sudden arrival, especially Venerable Muaxin. When he saw the two purple gold spirit deer that he had treasured in the past being used by his master as spirit beasts to pull the carriage, his heart couldn't help but twitch. "Does your immortal sect have a 1,000-year crow spirit tendon?" Fengjiu's voice came from the beast carriage. 1,000-year black spirit tendon. The two of them stared blankly for a moment before replying at the same time, "No, this is a rare elixir used to treat tendons and veins. It's especially rare for a 1,000-year-old elixir." Listening to their conversation, Fengjiu paused for a moment, deep in thought. At this moment, CK thought for a while and said, "Master, I once heard from a disciple of an immortal sect that there is a 1,000-year-old black spirit tendon in the four immortal sects' virtual spirit realm. But I don't know if it's true or not." She had heard about this from Tan Haotian before. Now that she heard it again, her gaze flickered as she asked, "When will the spirit void mystery realm open? I want to go in. Do you have any way to send me in?" When the two of them heard this, they couldn't help but be shocked. "Master, if a cultivator whose strength exceeds the nascent soul realm enters the spirit void mystery realm, his strength will be greatly suppressed. Moreover, it's extremely dangerous inside. It's a place for the disciples of the four immortal sect to gain experience. Why do you want to take this risk?" "I want a 1,000-year-old black spirit tendon, so I have to go in," Fengjiu said lightly. "But master, such a rare and precious elixir must be guarded by a powerful vicious beast. With master's strength, I'm afraid your strength will be suppressed greatly. Moreover, master's contracted beast will not be able to come out because of the restriction. If master goes in, it will be too dangerous." Chapter 3073. Seeing this, the two knew that she must go in. After thinking for a while, they said, "If master wants to go in, we naturally have a way. However, I'm afraid master can't go in with this identity. You have to change your identity. After all, it's the four major immortal sects' secret territory." "Yes, I know." She lifted the curtain and looked at the two people outside. She asked, "When will the spirit void's secret territory open?" The two smiled and said, "Master has come at the right time. Recently, the sect has been making arrangements for this. We have also selected disciples to go and gain experience. In a few days, we should depart to meet at the transportation array. If master has finished arranging things in the mansion, you can come over tomorrow. We will arrange an identity for master." "Okay," Fengjiu responded. After saying a few words to them, she left first. Seeing the purple gold spirit deer beast carriage fly into the sky and disappear into the clouds in a few breaths, CK couldn't help but ponder, why do you think Master is so anxious to find the 1,000-year black spirit tendon? How would I know? I'm just worried that if Master enters the secret territory, her strength will be suppressed and she will be in danger. If anything happens to her, do you think Master Xianyuan will let us go? Mu Axayan couldn't help but worry when she thought of this. On one hand, it was because of their alchemy venerable master. As an alchemy venerable, her status was extraordinary. Why did she have to go in to find the black spirit tendon? Why couldn't she let others do it for her? If something happened to her in there, what would they do? Go back and make arrangements. Tell this disciple to protect her when the time comes. As CK spoke, he let out a light sigh. He flicked his sleeves and walked towards the immortal sect with his hands behind his back. When Fengzhou returned to the mansion, the sun had already set. In the mansion, Xianyuan Mose had been waiting for her return. When she returned to the mansion and entered the gate, Wanyan Shirsan came up to her and said, Fengzhou, I saw your man. TSK, his aura is quite scary. Hearing this, Fengzhou smiled. You saw it. He just came out of seclusion. He probably won't be in seclusion for a while and will be in the mansion. If you're not in a hurry to go back, you can stay and accompany him. Hearing this, Wanyan Shirsan rubbed his chin and stared at her. What you said is a little strange. Stay and keep him company. What about you? What do you want to do? I'm going out for a while. I won't be back for a while. Fengzhou said as he walked inside. I see. Then I'll leave tomorrow as well. I don't want to face your husband. You don't know, your husband is like a jealous jar. He kept staring at me today and asked if I was married. Do you have a woman you like? From the looks of it, he almost told me to keep my distance from you. Puchi. Fengzhou couldn't help but laugh. How could it be that exaggerated? Mose just looks cold, but after interacting with him, you'll know that he's actually a pretty good person. Yes, he's pretty good. Wanyan Shirsan agreed. We were waiting for you to come back, so we ate first. However, I saw your husband instruct someone to send food to the courtyard. You should go eat first. We'll talk later. With that, he waved his hand and left. Chapter 3074. I'm back. She said softly and walked over to his side. Xianyuan Mose opened his eyes and reached out to hold her hand. Why were you gone for so long? As he spoke, he reached out to pull her to sit on his lap and hugged her. After I went to the auction house, I went to the immortal sect. She paused and continued, the market doesn't have a 1,000-year-old black spirit tendon, but the spirit void mystery territory has it, so I want to go in. CK and the others have been arranging for their disciples to go to the mystery territory to gain experience. I've already told them to arrange for me to go in. I'll leave tomorrow. You've only been back for 2 days. As Xianyuan Mose spoke, he tightened his arms around her. Ajo, I'll be heartbroken if you're like this. He couldn't bear for her to tire herself out like this. What's more, she had to go on an adventure for him. Hearing this, Fengzhou chuckled and turned around to look at him. If I don't repair your tendons and veins, I'll be worried. Don't worry. It's not the first time I've entered the mystery territory, I'll take care of myself. Also, it said that there are many precious elixirs in the spirit void mystery territory, I want to pick some. I should have been the one to do this. Xianyuan Mose sighed softly. You're not familiar with the herbs, you probably won't be able to find them. I don't feel at ease leaving it to others, so it's best for me to do it myself. She chuckled. Don't worry, just wait at home for me to come back. Then you have to be careful, don't be careless and get hurt. He said. I know. She smiled and nodded, changing the topic. I haven't had dinner yet. I'm hungry. Hearing this, Xianyuanmo's called out. Ing Yi, tell the kitchen to send the food over. Yes. There was no figure, only a voice, like a gust of wind, and Ing Yi, who was in the dark, went to the kitchen. After the meal, Fengzhou informed the people in the residence that she was going out. She then chatted with Wang Yanshi-san for a while before returning to the courtyard to pack her things. The next morning, as soon as the sky brightened, she left under Xianyuanmo's escort. She went to the Immortal Sect alone. In the Immortal Sect, CK and Mu Axayan were in the Immortal's cave, talking about the things they had arranged. Mu Axayan said, "What if Shirzuan can't find the black spirit tendon?" "Can't find it." CK glanced at him and said, "I'd believe it if someone else said that they couldn't find it, but I don't believe it if Master said that she couldn't find it. If they were so simple-minded, how could they have become her disciples? But at this moment, Master should be here as well. Why don't we go out to pick them up?" Mu Axayan suggested. "All right." CK agreed, got up, and walked out with him. As they walked out of the Immortal's cave, they saw a disciple leading a young man in green. When they saw the young man in green, the two of them couldn't help but pay more attention to him. They carefully sized up the young man in green. When they saw the young man's outer robe fluttering in the wind and the feather that was revealed, their eyes lit up. "You can leave first," CK said to the disciple leading the way. "Yes." The disciple replied, looking at the young man in green with some confusion. "Master." Chapter 3075. "Yes." Fengzhou responded and looked at the two. "Have you arranged everything?" Hearing her voice, CK said, "Master, don't worry. Everything has been arranged. We have arranged for Master to be Muzhou, a disciple of Mu Exion's family. Because the sect doesn't know about this, so it's okay. You just need to tell me what to do next," Fengzhou said. No matter what identity she had, it was the same to her as long as she could go in and find the 1,000-year black spiritual tendons. Hearing this, the two were slightly relieved. They were originally worried that Master would be dissatisfied with this identity, but after hearing her words, they were relieved. Then, the two of them looked at each other and smiled. "Master will be staying in the sect for the next few days. We also need to bring Master to meet some of our disciples. Master won't be able to live in the Immortal Sect's cave dwelling, so we've arranged a new place for Master." With that, the two took her to a small cave to rest and then went to arrange for the disciples. In the evening, they took her to CK's main peak. The 8 disciples looked at each other in confusion. They all knew each other because they were the 4 most outstanding disciples under CK and Mu Axayan. However, they didn't understand why they were called to CK's main peak. "What are you doing, Master? I heard that a new disciple has come. Let's get to know him." "A new disciple?" It said that he's not a new disciple. He's a disciple of the Mu family. He's a disciple of Venerable Mu Axayan, but he doesn't usually cultivate in the sect. He just came back this time. "The Mu family? Mu Ling, isn't that a member of your family? Do you know him?" A man looked at another man and asked. The man called Mu Ling shook his head. "The Mu family is huge. How can I know everyone?" "Master, why did you call that disciple here?" "The 8 of us were selected to enter the Spirit Void's secret realm. Could it be that the new junior brother is also going to enter the Spirit Void's secret realm?" A man in his 20s smiled with anticipation. As soon as he said this, the others fell into deep thought. After thinking about it, it really was possible. If he wasn't going to enter the Spirit Void mystic realm, why would he call them over to get acquainted with him? Moreover, it was likely that this person was rather favored by their masters. Otherwise, why would they, the senior brothers and sisters, have all come here to wait. Mu Ling, you have to take good care of your Mu clan when you enter. A man said with a smile. As soon as his voice fell, he continued, I wonder how strong this junior brother is. The 8 of us have all been carefully selected, and our strengths are also comparable. Could it be that this little junior brother's strength is also comparable to ours? We'll know when Master and the others come. There's no point in talking about it now. Another man said as he looked ahead. Hearing this, the few of them quieted down. That's right, we'll know later. There's no need to discuss it here. Not long after, they saw Venerable CK and Venerable Mu Axian walking over with their hands behind their backs. Behind them, there seemed to be a thin and small green figure. Because that person was behind them and was blocked by them, they couldn't see his face clearly. Chapter 3076. Greetings to Master and Venerable C. Quebec, greetings to Master and Venerable Mu Axian. The disciples from both sides cupped their hands and saluted at the same time. Their eyes were discreetly sizing up the figure in green. Looking at the figure, they were a little surprised. This little junior brother looked very thin and weak. They didn't know if he was 15 or 16 years old. With this kind of body and age, how could he enter the spirit void mystery realm? What if something were to happen in there? This is Mujo, a disciple I took in outside. I only called him back recently. He will enter the spirit void mystery realm with you. As his senior brothers, you have to take care of him. Mu Axian said in a low voice, his eyes sweeping over his disciples. Yes, I will follow your orders, Master. I will definitely take care of junior brother, said Reverend Mu Axian's disciple. His gaze landed on the young man in green. He looked so small and weak. They really didn't know why Master wanted him to enter such a dangerous place. The same goes for all of you. When you enter, you have to take care of each other. CK looked at his disciples and said. Yes. The other 4 disciples also responded. Mujo, this is my eldest disciple, Mu Ling. He is also a member of my family. This is my second disciple, Qing Junnan. The third disciple, Guiziki, and the 4th disciple, Lin Yusher. Greetings to senior brothers and sisters. Fengzhou stepped forward and cupped his hands in greeting. CK and Mu Axian's hearts skipped a beat when they heard her address them as senior brothers and sisters. This was their ancestor. Now, she had to address their disciples as senior brothers and sisters. This was really messed up. Little junior brother. The few of them nodded slightly. Ahem. CK coughed softly and introduced Fengzhou, Mujo, these are my disciples. You don't have to call them senior brothers and sisters. Just call them by their names. CK said, winking at his 4 disciples, introduce yourselves. I am Pei Zixuan. I'm Lin Chengjin, Yusher's brother, the man said with a smile and glanced at his sister. I'm Xiao Kaiji. The last person was a woman. She spoke in a light voice, I'm Gretchen, Mujo, you can just call us by our names. Okay, Fengzhou replied with a smile. Well, you've seen him. Mujo, go back to the cave and cultivate. Mu Axian ordered in a deep voice, indicating that she should leave first. Yes. Fengzhou smiled. After nodding slightly to everyone, she left first. The few of you, cultivate more in the next few days. Prepare all the things you need to prepare. Also, there is one more thing that I just instructed you to do. Once we are inside, you must protect Mujo well. Mu Axian was still worried and reminded them again. The few of them were slightly surprised, but they didn't show it on their faces. They still acknowledged the order. After the 2 venerable ones left, the few of them looked at each other. Who do you think this Mujo is? Why does it feel like Master's attitude towards him is different? He's from the Mu clan, Mu Ling said, glancing at them. Since Master has instructed, we'll do as he says. Hearing this, the few of them didn't say anything else. After a while, they returned to their respective cave residences. After returning to the cave residence, Fengjiu began to develop some medicine to protect himself. If he couldn't use his strength inside, it was better to prepare more medicine. Chapter 3077. Master, we brought some things for you. CK took out a space ring and handed it to her. This ring contains the cultivation technique of the Xiao sect. Master needs to practice this technique in the next 2 days. Only disciples with the cultivation technique of the 4 major immortal sects can enter the Spirit Void Mystery Land. There is also a transmission jade token. If Master encounters any danger, you can crush the jade token to come out. In addition, the space array will open in 3 months. The disciples of the 4 major immortal sects will be sent back to their respective sects based on the aura of the cultivation technique in each disciple's body. Hearing this, Fengjiu nodded. Yes, I understand. Then we'll go back first. We won't disturb Master. After the 2 of them handed the items to her, they bowed and left. After they left, Fengjiu took out the cultivation technique and memorized it. Then she sat down cross-legged and practiced. It only took her 1 night to reach the 7th level of the cultivation technique. In the next few days, she did not go out until Mu Axayan sent someone to tell her that she was ready to leave. Only then did she step out of the cave residence. On this day, she and the other 8 disciples took a flying ship to the transmission array with the other disciples of the sect. She estimated that there should be around 100 disciples of the Blue Star Immortal sect. Just as she was thinking, she heard Mu Ling and Pei Zixuan talking. It is said that the 4 major immortal sects will each have 100 people to enter the Mystery Land. There are about 400 people in the 4 major immortal sects. It seems that the Mystery Land will be lively this time. This time, we will be in there for 3 months. We will probably form a team before entering. Should we add a few more people here? Once they entered, they would form a team. If there were too few people in their group, their fighting power would be relatively weak. It would not be beneficial for them. When we get there, we will make arrangements. We must find a few more people. Otherwise, we will have fewer people and weaker fighting power than others. Fengjiu listened to their conversation and read a book on herbs. She felt that many disciples on the flying ship were sizing her up. She pretended not to notice and continued reading. Senior Brother Mu, is this person also a disciple of your peak? Why haven't I seen him before? A disciple asked, his gaze falling on Fengjiu. That's right, he's my junior brother. Mu Ling smiled and nodded. Fengjiu also looked up at that person and smiled, then lowered his head to continue reading. When others didn't say anything, she quietly did her own things. When others asked her, she would respond and exchange a few words with them. Because she didn't talk much and kept reading, those who hadn't interacted with her felt that she was a shy person who wasn't good at talking. Therefore, he did not pay much attention to her. Their master had instructed them not to ask too much about Mu Jiu. Along the way, the disciples were not very familiar with him, so they did not know what to say to him. They did not speak until the flying ship slowly landed and arrived at the teleportation portal. The disciples from the other sects also arrived one after another. After Fengjiu and the others disembarked from the flying ship, they saw that the surroundings were bustling with noise and excitement. There were not many people gathered around and chatting. He also noticed that the clothes of each sect's disciples were of different colors and were easily distinguishable. Chapter 3078. The 100 sect disciples quickly formed teams. Fengjiu followed beside Mu Ling and the rest. Seeing that they were not in a hurry to form a team, he stood quietly and observed the people around him. Mu Ling, do you have enough people in your team? How about we join in? A man brought a few people over and said to Mu Ling. Mu Ling glanced at the 4 of them, then looked at Pei Zixuan. What do you think? Sure, with the 4 of them, it'll be 13 people. That's about right, Pei Zishuan said and nodded. All right then, you guys can form a team with us. Come, let me introduce you to the people in our team. Mu Ling said and introduced the 9 people on his side. After getting to know each other, the few people's gazes landed on Fengzhou and said, "This little junior brother doesn't look very old. He's actually a member of your Mu family." Mu Ling smiled. That's right. Fengzhou also smiled slightly and nodded at them. With the activation of the array and the supremacy's instructions, the surrounding small teams split into a few small teams and went forward. They disappeared from where they were as the array teleported them. When Fengzhou and the rest appeared, they were already in the dense forest. The few small teams that came in with them were also present. Everyone looked at each other and cupped their hands in greeting. Then, they each chose a direction to go in. In here, people from the same sect would support each other. They would only be wary of people from other sections. People from the same sect would not have any designs on them. Let's sit down and talk first. In case we get separated and can't find our team, we have to make a secret signal. Mu Ling said and looked at everyone. There are 13 of us here. Everyone has to have a secret signal. My secret signal is this. He drew a leaf on the ground and looked at the others. If I get lost, I will carve my secret signal on a tree or a rock. Then, it will point in the direction I want to go. Hearing this, everyone nodded. Then I'll draw a lightning bolt. Pei Zishuan said with a smile and drew a lightning bolt on the ground. It's easy to remember. Then I'll draw a circle and add a cross inside. I'll draw a small sword. I'll draw a fruit. Each of them drew what they represented on the ground for everyone to see. In the end, seeing that Muzhou, who hadn't said much, hadn't drawn anything, he asked, "Muzhou, what about you?" "I'll just write 9. Fengzhou said with a smile. He didn't think he would need it. Alright, let's all remember this so that we won't forget. In here, other than the ferocious beasts, we can also harvest some precious spiritual herbs. However, we have to be careful. The more precious the spiritual herbs are, the stronger the guardian beasts will be guarding them. There are 13 people in the team, and we will take turns to be the leader. Each person will be the leader for a day." Hearing this, everyone expressed that they had no problem with it. Thus, Mu Ling became the team leader for the day. After making the necessary arrangements, he led them inside. Because of his master's orders to protect Muzhou, Mu Ling paid more attention to Muzhou, who was walking at the back. Seeing that Muzhou, who was originally walking in the middle, was gradually falling behind, he gave a look to his junior brother Qing Junan and the others. Chapter 3079. When Fengzhou saw this, he was slightly startled. Then, he smiled and looked at them. "Muzhou, have you come out to train? Did you just become a golden core cultivator not long ago?" Guaziki asked. He saw that Muzhou's cultivation was only at the golden core level. With such strength, he should not be able to enter, but Master let him in. It had to be said that Muzhou was really weak. Hearing his words, Fengzhou smiled and replied, "Yes. Sometimes, I go out to train too." As for the strength of a golden core, it was because her strength of a heavenly god was too high that she was suppressed to the strength of a golden core. In comparison, her strength was really too weak. "Do you know the use of the jade pendant?" Guaziki asked again. She smiled and replied, "I know. When my life is in danger, I can crush the jade pendant to be teleported out of the mystic realm. You have to keep it well. If you lose the jade pendant, you will have to stay here for a full 3 months. Also, if you encounter danger, your last safeguard will be gone." He reminded her worriedly because he saw that this little junior brother was so dull and weak. He could not help but worry. "Alright, I will." She nodded. Mujio is not a child. Look at you, you are almost an old mother. The man's surname Chin smiled and said. Gwiziki smiled and did not say anything. He just walked quietly beside Fingzhou and paid attention to the surrounding movements. The group chatted as they walked forward. Suddenly, Mu Ling and Pei Zixuan, who were walking in front, stopped in their tracks and made a vigilant action. When the others saw this, they quickly turned around and formed a circle behind them. Shaw shaw. The rustling sound came from the dense forest and seemed to be increasing in number. Furthermore, it was coming towards them. Hearing that sound, everyone's expression turned serious. What is that sound? Is it a snake? It's not a snake. It seems like something is coming through the grass. As Gwiziki said, he felt an inexplicable sense of danger. I feel that something is not right. Let's retreat quickly. How can we retreat without seeing what it is? In any case, we should at least figure out what this thing is. The man's surname Chin said to them, I'll go ahead and take a look. As he spoke, he walked out from the crowd and pushed aside the grass to walk forward. However, the moment he pushed aside the grass, something suddenly pounced on him. He was startled and cried out in alarm. He instinctively waved his palm and quickly retreated. Swish! Swish! Hiss! This is a four-legged smiling snake. Mu Ling exclaimed, his expression changing drastically. When everyone heard his words, their faces turned grave as they looked at the colorful four-legged smiling snakes emerging from the bushes. Each of these four-legged smiling snakes was only the length of a palm. They looked like snakes, but they weren't snakes. Their bodies were colorful, and there were spots on their heads that formed a smiling face. Two sharp fangs were exposed on their heads. Their mouths were slightly open, and their stomachs were moving as if they were breathing. As soon as these things jumped out, they surrounded them. On the ground and on the trees, these four-legged smiling snakes were everywhere, leaving them with no way out. Fengjiu glanced at those things and reminded, these things are highly poisonous. Be careful, don't get bitten. Chapter 3080. Be careful. With a cry of alarm, everyone quickly attacked those four-legged smiling snakes that pounced on them. Seeing those four-legged smiling snakes pouncing on them without fear of fire, Pei Zixuan couldn't help but curse, damn it. Thank you, Yuziki. The three of you, open up a path. Mu Ling shouted in a deep voice. As she was worried that Mujio wouldn't be able to react in time, she didn't dare to leave his side. Instead, she protected him tightly by her side and instructed, Mujio, don't leave my side. Fengjiu raised her blade and killed a few four-legged snakes that were about to bite Mu Ling from the side. She wanted to remind him to take care of himself first. Don't bother about me. But since he had good intentions, she could only respond and follow beside him. Hearing his words, the three of them opened up a path with the help of the others. They shouted to the people behind them, escape this way. With that, their figures dashed out first. Everyone quickly retreated. Mu Ling and Pei Zixuan were at the back. The further back they were, the more dangerous it was. Fengjiu looked back worriedly and saw the two of them retreating while killing those four-legged smiling snakes that surrounded them. One of them leaped from the side and bit towards Pei Zixuan, but Pei Zixuan and Mu Ling didn't notice it. At that moment, her hand moved and a silver needle shot out. Whoosh! Pei Zixuan felt a bloodthirsty aura on his neck. When he turned back, he saw that smiling snake opening its mouth and biting towards his neck. Those two sharp fangs that oozed venom caused him to involuntarily shiver. By the time he wanted to dodge, it was already too late. He thought he would be bitten, but who knew that when that four-legged smiling snake neared his neck, its body trembled and fell to the ground. At that moment, he was so nervous that sweat seeped out of his forehead. His heart didn't seem to be beating. But, he clearly heard a soft voice brushing past his ear. Lowering his head to look at that four-legged smiling snake, he saw a cold glint under the sunlight. Zishuan. Let's go. Mu Ling pulled him and retreated with him. With a leap, they were already more than 10 meters away, avoiding those four-legged smiling snakes that were chasing after them. Pei Zishuan gathered his thoughts and turned back to look at the people who had already left. He was puzzled. Who was the one who shot that silver needle? Because they had to avoid the four-legged smiling snakes that were chasing after them, they kept moving forward. After a long while, when they entered an area, the four-legged smiling snakes that were chasing after them suddenly stopped and surrounded them. They didn't chase after them, but they didn't leave either. They just stuck out their tongues and stared at them. Those four-legged smiling snakes have stopped. Let's take a rest. Gwaziki exhaled lightly, wiped his sweat, and said, "We just came in and we already encountered this four-legged smiling snake. Fortunately, we ran fast enough. If we were bitten, it would be troublesome." Fengzhou looked at the four-legged smiling snakes that had stopped and did not chase after them. He felt that something was wrong. He was afraid that this place was not safe. It was very likely that there was a very powerful vicious beast here. Otherwise, those four-legged smiling snakes would have dared to chase after them. As he was thinking, he heard Mu Ling's voice. Chapter 3081. Hearing his words, everyone's relieved hearts rose again. They looked around and said, "It looks very peaceful here. What danger could there be? No, there's not even a bird here. Those four-legged smiling snakes also don't dare to come over. Looking at the situation, there should be powerful ferocious beasts in this area." Hearing this, no one dared to be careless. Carelessness here could cause death. Then what should we do? There's no way back. The path of retreat is completely blocked by those four-legged smiling snakes. Even if there's danger, we can only go forward. Xiao Kaiji said as he looked ahead and said, "How about this? Let's go forward and take a look." "Let's go. Everyone be careful," Mu Ling said and looked at Fengzhou. "Mu Jiu, you stay by my side." Fengzhou smiled helplessly. "Eldest senior brother, you don't have to take special care of me. I can take care of myself." Really? Being protected by them like this, she felt that her hands and feet were tied. It was just that her strength was suppressed, it was not that her fighting strength was not good. In here, she could deal with most of the situations. Master said that if anything happens to you, we can't escape the blame when we return. Moreover, you and I are both disciples of the Mu family. It's our duty to take care of you. Come here. Follow me and don't run around," he said in a low voice, not allowing any refusal. Fengzhou had no choice but to walk over and follow him. Regarding this, other than the 4 disciples with the surname Qin who were a little puzzled, the others did not say anything. After all, they had been ordered by their master to take good care of Mu Jiu and not let anything happen to him. Although they did not know why their master valued Mu Jiu so much, since it was their master's order, they naturally obeyed. They walked forward carefully. Even the slightest movement could make them alert. However, after walking for a while, it was still quiet and there was no danger. Only then did they let out a sigh of relief. Fengzhou looked around and saw that there were many spirit herbs in this area. His eyes lit up. "There are spirit herbs here. I'll go pick them. Senior brothers, sit down and rest." Hearing this, everyone nodded. Ever since they entered, they had been chased by the four-legged smiling snakes. Since it was quiet here, they would sit down and rest for a while. Otherwise, it would be unbearable to be on high alert all the time. "Mu Jiu, are you going to pick the spiritual herbs? We'll accompany you." Gretchen and Lin Yusher came to Fengzhou's side and said, "Sure." Fengzhou smiled and squatted down beside a stalk of spiritual medicine under the tree. He carefully dug out the stalk of spiritual medicine. Seeing this, the two of them looked around to see if there were any other spiritual medicine. After all, they weren't alchemists or alchemists. They could recognize ordinary spirit medicines, but they couldn't recognize some of the rarer spirit medicines. Therefore, after seeing the spirit medicines that Mujio had dug up, they began to search accordingly. Do you want this? Did we dig the right one? The two of them handed over the 2 stalks of spirit herbs they had dug up. Yes, this is it. Thank you. Fengzhou took it with a smile and thanked him. Mujio, what kind of spirit medicine is this? Is there any use for it? Gretchen asked. This is a spirit medicine that can stop bleeding. It's more effective than ordinary spirit medicine to stop bleeding, she explained with a smile. Chapter 3082. You can say that. She chuckled and dug up a few stalks of spirit herbs under the tree, keeping them in her space. Don't go too far. Just pick around here, Mu Ling shouted. Okay. The few of them answered. After picking some spirit herbs around them, they walked over to rest. Fengzhou took a sip of water. Seeing that everyone was staring at him, he smiled and asked, "What's wrong? Why don't you look tired at all?" Guaziki curiously inquired. After the battle, in addition to the fact that they had been sprinting, they were all extremely nervous. Their auras were all somewhat unstable, yet Mujio's countenance was as calm as ever. He didn't even sweat a single drop, and he even had the energy to pluck the spirit herbs. Hearing this, Fengzhou chuckled. My stamina is good, so I'm not tired. So you're saying that our stamina is not as good as yours? The disciple with the surname Chen chuckled. He looked at Fengzhou and said, with your small body, you look like a gust of wind could blow you away. But you actually said that your stamina is good. But seeing that you haven't even panted, maybe your stamina is better than ours. Everyone laughed. After resting for a while, they all stood up. Then let's continue moving forward. Try to be as quiet as possible. Even if there are some powerful ferocious beasts in this area, it's best not to alarm them. Okay. Everyone answered and walked forward together, their footsteps light. But at this moment, the ground shook and they stopped. Xiao Kaiji quickly lay on the ground to listen. After a while, he got up and said, there are more than 10 disciples running this way. There should be a ferocious beast chasing behind them. This ferocious beast is huge. Every step it takes causes the ground to shake slightly. I don't know if it's a ferocious beast from this area. If it's not, I'm afraid that this movement will alarm the ferocious beasts in this area. Hearing this, their faces became serious. Let's go and take a look. With that, everyone rushed towards the direction of the sound. In the dense forest, the weeds that were half the height of a person seemed to have never been stepped on before. The dozen people running in panic looked back as they ran forward. At their height, a 5 to 6 meter tall giant beast was chasing after them. The giant beast's body was covered with hard spikes. It was a 4-legged beast, but it walked on 2 legs like a human. Its 2 hind legs were thick and heavy, and when it stepped on the ground, it made a heavy thud. The ground also sank, leaving a deep footprint. Its front claws were short and small, but they had sharp claws. Its head was also incomparably huge, with a long and sharp mouth, revealing a row of sharp and long teeth. Its eyes were even bigger than fists, and they were bloodshot, incomparably ferocious. Roar! A deafening roar of a beast rang out. As the roar spread out, the powerful pressure formed a sound wave that caused the dozen or so people who were running for their lives to cover their ears and scream. Some of them were tripped by branches and fell into the weeds. The ferocious beast caught up from behind and lifted its huge foot to stomp on the disciples on the ground. The disciple turned around to look and was so scared that his face changed drastically. Relying on his survival instinct, he quickly rolled to the side and rolled down the slope. However, because of this, he managed to keep his life. After the giant beast missed him, it abandoned him and chased after the disciple in front of him. Chapter 3083. The disciple who had rolled down the slope hit a rock and heard a cracking sound. He groaned and stood up from the ground. When he touched his hand, he knew it was broken. He did not escape but followed closely behind. That giant beast was too strong and could not be killed by one person. However, if more than 10 people calmed down and worked together, they should have a chance of winning. They could only blame themselves for meeting the giant beast when they were unprepared and being chased by it. That was why they ran wildly. They came here to train, not to escape. If they did not face it head-on, this would become their inner demon in the future. On the other side, Mu Ling and the rest were walking towards the source of the sound. When they heard the giant beast's roar, their eardrums hurt. However, they steadied their minds and used their spiritual energy to protect them. When they looked up, they were shocked. Hiss! This beast is so huge. It's at least 5 or 6 meters tall. What kind of beast is this? Why are there spikes on its body? Those are not spikes. They look like its horns. If I'm not wrong, this should be the Ironhide Scarlet Dragon that I've heard of before. It's a level 5 divine beast. Mu Ling said in a low voice and looked at the giant beast with a serious expression. Ironhide Scarlet Dragon. That level 5 divine beast that is invulnerable? Gwaziki was shocked and his expression turned ugly. That's right. Mu Ling nodded. Then what do we do? What are our chances of winning against it? Lin Yushir asked and looked at them. Can we deal with it if we work together? That's hard to say. As Mu Ling said that, he saw more than 10 disciples rushing towards them. They were disciples of the immortal sect. Run! Those disciples also saw them and shouted at them from afar. They did not stop but sped up and ran forward. That's the Ironhide Scarlet Dragon. We are not its match. If you don't want to die, run. Mu Ling and the rest were stunned when they saw them running in the direction of the four-legged, smiling snake. Their expressions changed. Don't go in that direction. Come back quickly. However, how could the panicking people hear what they were saying? They only wanted to get rid of the huge beast that was chasing them as soon as possible. A level 5 divine beast, moreover, it was the extremely powerful Ironhide Scarlet Dragon. They didn't want to fight it at all. Kai Jiguan, Yu Yushir, go and stop them. Don't let them pounce on the four-legged smiling snake. Mu Ling immediately ordered. At the same time, he took out his long sword and activated his spiritual aura. He leaped towards the Ironhide Scarlet Dragon. Seeing this, Pei Zishuan and the others quickly drew their swords to help Mu Ling. Several of them attacked together, and the Ironhide Scarlet Dragon had no choice but to stop. Although its body was huge, its reaction was very fast. As it dodged their attacks, it also attacked. Fengzhou took a look and saw Gretchen and the rest chasing after those people, while Mu Ling and the rest surrounded the huge beast with swords. One of the disciples chasing after them had one hand drooping weakly, but he still attacked with his sword. Seeing this, she pondered for a moment. If it was a rank 5 divine beast with so many of them joining forces, it was not impossible for them to take it down. However, this rank 5 divine beast was an Ironhide Scarlet Dragon. Its combat strength was extremely strong, and it was impervious to weapons. It would be very difficult for them to win. Chapter 3084. He turned around and hid behind a large tree. As for the people who were attacking the Ironhide Scarlet Dragon, they had no choice but to retreat. The moment they retreated, they saw that Mu Jiao had retreated and was hiding behind a large tree. When they saw this, the disciples with the surname Chen couldn't help but feel annoyed. They were all fighting together, but he actually ran behind a tree to hide. What a coward! Mu Ling and the rest felt more at ease with him hiding. After all, their master had instructed them to protect him. Knowing that he was not strong enough, they naturally wouldn't let him fight the Ironhide Scarlet Dragon like they did. If the other party didn't care and charged forward, they would have to split their attention to protect him. That would be even more troublesome. Their preconceived notions made them think that Fengzhou needed someone to protect him. Hence, no one saw that Fengzhou, who was hiding behind the tree, was currently grinding some small pills together to make a new pill. She peeked her head out to look at the Ironhide Scarlet Dragon and saw that the disciple whose hand was hanging limply was sent flying by the Ironhide Scarlet Dragon. With a bang, he crashed into a large tree and fell to the ground. That person groaned and blood flowed from his mouth. He wanted to stand up again, but he fell back down powerlessly. Seeing that the place where the person fell was near the Ironhide Scarlet Dragon, and with Mu Ling and the rest sword chi, she was worried that he would be injured by the sword chi and the huge dragon. Hence, in a flash, she dashed towards that person and dragged him back behind the large tree. Seeing Mu Jiu come out, Mu Ling and the rest felt their hearts skip a beat. However, when they saw that he had dragged the injured person to a safe place, they couldn't help but relax and continue fighting the Ironhide Scarlet Dragon. However, due to the disparity in strength, even if the 8 of them attacked together, they were quickly injured by the dragon's claws. Their bodies were covered in bloody wounds. Fengzhou took out a small bottle from the space. He opened the bottle and dripped a few drops of medicinal liquid into the crushed pills. After he stirred the liquid, he kneaded the crushed pills together to form a black pill the size of a quail's egg. Hiss! Ah! Screams rang out as Mu Ling and the rest were sent flying by the Ironhide Scarlet Dragon. They all fell to the ground injured, blood flowing from their mouths and their faces as pale as paper. Bang! The Ironhide Scarlet Dragon took a step forward and stomped down heavily, causing a huge footprint to sink into the ground. Seeing that the Ironhide Scarlet Dragon was about to stomp down on Pei Zishuan who was lying on the ground, the faces of the people scattered around immediately changed. Zishuan! Run! Pei Zishuan's face was pale. He tried to move his body, but because he was struck by the Ironhide Scarlet Dragon's palm, he suffered quite a few internal injuries, and even moving was difficult. He couldn't help but reveal a bitter smile. His voice was weak as he said, "I can't move. I can't muster up any strength." If he could escape, why wouldn't he want to? However, just as he was about to lose all hope, he saw a small and skinny figure dashing towards him at lightning speed. Lying on the ground, he was slightly startled. Mu Jiu. Why did he come out? Was he not afraid of death? Fengzhou quickly flew out and arrived beside him in a flash. He hurriedly pulled him out before the Ironhide Scarlet Dragon's foot landed. He directly brought him behind the big tree and laid him down side by side with the cultivator from before. Chapter 3085. As she spoke, she took his sword. Before he could even open his mouth to stop her, she had already rushed out and attacked the Ironhide Scarlet Dragon. When Mu Ling saw that he had actually rushed forward with a sword alone, he could not help but break out in a cold sweat. Mu Jiu. Do you want to die? Quickly go back. Quickly leave. You can't defeat that Ironhide Scarlet Dragon. When the others saw this, they were also shocked. They originally thought that he was hiding out of fear, but they did not expect that he would rush out to meet the Ironhide Scarlet Dragon at such a crucial moment. However, if the few of them could not defeat the Ironhide Scarlet Dragon together, how could he do it alone? Fengzhou did not care about them. Instead, he held his sword and used his spiritual energy to slash down. However, when the sharp sword slashed down, only a clanging sound could be heard. The sword did not even leave a mark on the Ironhide Scarlet Dragon's body. Indeed, its outer skin was very hard. If such an outer skin was used to make a defensive armor, it would be extremely good. However, it was difficult for swords and sabers to injure it. It was indeed very troublesome. Roar! The iron-hide scarlet dragon roared angrily. Its sound was like a sound wave that spread out. The powerful pressure caused everyone to have a splitting headache. The injured people who were already lying on the ground screamed and covered their ears as they fainted. Fengjiu had an ancient pressure in her body. Although her strength was suppressed, the pressure still existed. Thus, the iron-hide scarlet dragon's pressure and voice did not have much effect on her. However, it was not very possible for her to use her pressure to suppress it. Seeing that the situation was getting worse and that they were all screaming and fainting, she gritted her teeth and stepped off the iron-hide scarlet dragon's body. She jumped into the air and tried to stab the iron-hide scarlet dragon's eyes with the sword in her hand. However, the iron-hide scarlet dragon's reaction was extremely fast. It seemed to have seen through her intentions. Its bloodthirsty eyes shot out a ferocious light and its body quickly dodged to the side. It lowered its head slightly and used the sharp horn on its head to stab Fengjiu. Following that collision, the force was accompanied by a powerful wind blade, forcing Fengjiu to retreat. It was indeed troublesome to have her strength suppressed. If her strength was not suppressed, what could this level 5 divine beast do to her? Human. You overestimate yourself. The iron-hide crimson dragon's majestic and bloodthirsty voice rang out. At the same time, it swung its front claws at Fengjiu. The claws swept through the air and cut down a large tree, causing it to fall with a loud crack. As Fengjiu dodged, he couldn't find a chance to throw the pill into the mouth of the iron-hide scarlet dragon. From the very beginning, she had never thought of fighting with this huge vicious beast. In terms of strength, it was impossible for her to win. However, if she used medicine, she was confident that she could defeat it. However, the prerequisite was that she had to have the opportunity to throw the medicine into its mouth. However, even though the iron-hide scarlet dragon was roaring, it did not fully open its mouth. Furthermore, its dense set of sharp teeth were blocking the way. If he wanted to throw the pill into its mouth, he would have to give it a painful blow before he could have a chance. The iron-hide crimson dragon's only weakness was its eyes. Seeing the iron-hide scarlet dragon closing in on her step by step, she gritted her teeth and once again leaped into the air. The iron-hide scarlet dragon guarded its eyes very carefully. It did not give Fengjiu any chance to get close and it tried to kill her again and again. Chapter 3086. Fengjiu turned around and saw this scene. His eyes flashed and he decided to take a risk. After discovering the danger, she did not quickly dodge. Instead, she infused her spirit force into the sword in her hand and slashed at the sharp teeth. Kacha! Kacha! A few of the sharp teeth were knocked off by Fengjiu's sword. The iron-hide scarlet dragon seemed to be stunned for a moment. It looked down at the dragon teeth that had fallen off and immediately became furious. Human! I'll tear you apart. Its whole body pounced forward and its claws reached for Fengjiu. Fengjiu didn't retreat but went forward. She stood at the nose of the beast and stabbed the sharp sword in her hand at the beast's eyes at a speed that was too fast for the ears to cover. Whoosh! Ah! The sword stabbed in and blood splattered all over Fengjiu's body. The iron-hide scarlet dragon screamed and shook its head. It reached out to grab Fengjiu. At this moment, Fengjiu took this opportunity to slide down. He finally threw the pill in his hand into the iron-hide scarlet dragon's throat. Ah! Something was thrown into the iron-hide crimson dragon's mouth, but it didn't even have time to spit it out before it swallowed the medicine down its throat. It only felt a burning sensation in its throat, as if it was being burned by fire. What did you give me to eat? What did you give me to eat? The furious iron-hide red dragon waved its claws to block the attack. A powerful and sharp air current accompanied its claws, cutting the surrounding trees into pieces. Fengjiu had already retreated quickly after throwing in the medicine, leading the Ironhide Red Dragon to the other side to prevent the Ironhide Red Dragon from hurting the unconscious people on the ground. Roar! Roar! Screams and roars rang out in the forest. Iron-skinned Red-skinned, who had been chasing Fengjiu, fell to the ground with a thud. They rolled on the ground and screamed miserably. Their screams caused the surrounding air to tremble, and even the ground to shake slightly. Fengjiu stood in the distance and coldly watched. She watched as the Ironhide Scarlet Dragon rolled on the ground and screamed. She watched as blood seeped out of its 7 orifices. Only when its body finally became stiff and motionless did she walk over. After a careful examination and confirming that they were dead, he quickly went to the disciples and helped them up one by one. He placed them behind the tree where the 2 of them had been and checked their injuries. Fortunately, it's not very serious. They just couldn't withstand the sound waves and fainted. She let out a sigh of relief. If their injuries were so serious that they couldn't continue, then she could only crush their jade tokens and send them out. She took out her silver needles and pricked their acupuncture points to stimulate their nerves and let them slowly wake up. Finally, she kept her silver needles and went to the disciple with the broken arm. After checking, she picked up a tree branch and flattened it to fix his broken arm. Only then did she bandage it to fix it so that it wouldn't shift again. When Mu Ling and the others woke up, they saw Mu Jiu bandaging a disciple covered in blood. Seeing him covered in blood, Mu Ling was shocked. Mu Jiu, you're injured. Fengjiu turned around and saw that they were all waking up. She smiled and said, "No, it's not my blood. It's that Ironhide Scarlet Dragon's blood." She looked at the place where the Ironhide Scarlet Dragon had fallen. Chapter 3087. They looked in shock at the huge beast that was lying motionless on the ground and suddenly turned to look at Fengjiu. You killed it." Fengjiu thought for a while and said, "You can say so." How did you kill it?" "With your strength alone." Disciple Qin looked at Fengjiu in disbelief. "I mixed a few poisons together and made a pill, then let it eat it. It died when the poison acted up." Fengjiu said simply. When the few of them heard this, their hearts were in turmoil. Mu Jiu made it sound so easy, but they knew that it was not easy to make the iron-skinned scarlet dragon open its mouth and swallow the poisonous pill. Furthermore, it was a 5th-level divine beast, and its body was so huge. It was not something that could be killed by any ordinary poison. Mu Ling and Pei Zishuan supported each other and stood up. They walked over to the ironclad scarlet dragon on the ground to take a look. When they saw that the ironclad scarlet dragon's eye had been stabbed, they couldn't help but look at each other. It seemed that they had underestimated Mu Jiu's strength. The others stood up as well, clutching their aching chests as they walked over. When they saw the fallen ironhide scarlet dragon, their hearts froze. They could not help but turn around to look at the young man who was covered in fresh blood. Their hearts were secretly shocked. Seeing that they were all looking at him, Fengjiu thought for a while and asked, "Should we go and find Guan Yu and the rest? They have been gone for a long time and haven't returned. I don't know if something happened to them." Guan Yu and the other 2 who chased after those people had not returned. She was worried that something might have happened. After all, there was the 4-legged smiling snake guarding there. If they couldn't stop them and those disciples rushed into the 4-legged smiling snake's territory, then, hearing this, Lin Qingjin's expression changed. Thinking that his sister was there, he immediately said, "Let's go and take a look." "Let's go." Everyone responded. Just as they were about to go back, they saw Lin Yushi and Guan Yu supporting Su Kaiji walking over. "Brother. Eldest senior brother." Senior brother Su was bitten by the 4-legged smiling snake. "What do we do? What do we do?" Lin Yushi hurriedly called out when she saw them. She was so anxious that her eyes were slightly red and her mind was in a mess. When everyone saw that apart from the three of them, they did not see anyone else, and their hearts could not help but sink. They quickly went forward and helped Fei Kaiji to sit under the tree. At this time, Fei Kaiji's lips had turned black and he had fainted. We fed him a detoxification pill, but it didn't seem to have any effect. Gretchen said, looking at Su Kaiji worriedly. Will he die? Would he die? Even if we send him out, I'm afraid that even Master won't be able to save him in time. Let me take a look. Fengjiu walked up from behind and bent down to examine the wound, asking, where is the wound? It's around the calf. Gretchen hurriedly lifted up Su Kaiji's robe and rolled up his trousers, revealing the swollen red and purple wound. Seeing this, Fengjiu frowned. Lay him flat on the ground. You guys back off a little. As she spoke, she took out a small knife and slashed at the wound, creating a cross-shaped wound. Pooh! Black poisonous blood splashed out and sprayed onto the weeds at their feet. The weeds immediately withered, shocking everyone. This poison is actually so powerful. Chapter 3088. Muzhou, will senior brother Kuang die? Lin Yushe asked worriedly. He won't. Fengjiu said as she took out an antidote pill and stuffed it into Kuang Kaiji's mouth. Although the antidote pill you gave him did not cure the poison in his body, it slowed the poison down and entered his heart meridians. Therefore, he can still be saved. As she spoke, she took out silver needles and pricked Kuang Kaiji's 10 fingers, squeezing out the blood until it was bright red. Only then did she stop. When he saw the silver needles in Fengjiu's fingers, Pei Zishuan's eyes flashed. It was indeed him. The person who saved him was indeed Muzhou. He really hid his skills well. Normal people could not cure the poison of the four-legged smiling snake. They were all disciples of aristocratic families and were the direct descendants of the large families. They were specially nurtured. The antidote pills they had could only alleviate the poison but could not cure the poison of the four-legged smiling snake. But Muzhou's pill could cure the poison. How powerful was that? Was he really a disciple of Venerable Muexian? Was he really a disciple of the Mu family? At this moment, he could not help but have a trace of doubt in his heart. To be able to kill a level 5 iron-skinned red dragon and cure the poison of the four-legged smiling snake, to be able to remain calm and not be alarmed. How could such a person be an ordinary person? They were the next successors of their families and disciples that were highly valued by their master. If they could not even see through this, then they did not have the right to be called geniuses. After sorting out his emotions and suppressing his doubts, Mu Ling looked at Gretchen and the rest. He was about to ask where those people went when he heard the disciple with the broken arm ask anxiously, "Where are they? Where did they go? Are senior brother and junior brother in danger?" Hearing this, Gretchen's face turned cold. She stood up and stared coldly at that person, but did not speak. It was as if she had a stomach full of anger. Seeing this, Mu Ling asked, "Gretchen, what happened?" Seeing that it was him who asked, Gretchen took a deep breath and said, "Senior brother Mu, we chased after them to stop them, but they didn't listen to us. They kept running forward and rushed into the area where the four-legged smiling snakes were. We managed to hold them back, but when they saw the four-legged smiling snakes, they immediately ran back, causing the four-legged smiling snakes to surround us. When they saw that there was no way out, they actually crushed their own transportation jade tablets and left this mystic realm." At this point, Gretchen's expression turned cold as she continued, "The remaining 3 of us fought our way out of the encirclement. Senior Marshal Brother Kuang was bitten in order to save Yushe and me. We turned back and brought him away from that place. Fortunately, those four-legged smiling snakes didn't dare to chase after us. Otherwise, all of us would have died there." Hearing this, the disciple with the broken arm opened his mouth. He wanted to say something, but he didn't know what to say. In the end, he only said, "I apologize on their behalf. This is not your problem." Pei Zishuan said, indicating that he did not need to be like this. Senior brother, that iron-hide scarlet dragon was killed by you guys. Gretchen's gaze landed on the iron-hide scarlet dragon lying on the ground in front of them. Such a huge beast was actually killed by a few senior brothers just like that. Hearing this, everyone looked at each other and smiled at Mu Jiao, who was looking down at his blood-stained robes. It was Mu Jiao who killed it, not us. Ah. Gretchen and Lin Yusher were slightly startled and looked at Fengjiu in astonishment. Chapter 3089. Quick, look. There's a level 5 divine beast here. Hiss. It's an iron-hide scarlet dragon. The sudden sound attracted Mu Ling and the rest to look in that direction. They saw more than 10 men and women dressed in green walking towards them. They were pleasantly surprised as they surrounded the iron-hide scarlet dragon that had fallen to the ground. This level 5 divine beast's beast crystal is good stuff. A man exclaimed in surprise and climbed up to dig out the fist-sized beast crystal on top of the iron-hide scarlet dragon's head. If this iron-hide scarlet dragon skin is used to make armor, it will be invulnerable. And this. Hiss. A gasp was heard and the surrounding crowd was stunned. They looked up and saw the male disciple who had climbed up to dig out the beast crystal turn back with a trembling hand. Who's stabbing us in the back? There was a silver needle stuck in the back of his hand, and that needle had pierced the tendons on the back of his hand, causing his entire hand to be in pain and numb. This iron-hide scarlet dragon is ours. Fengjiu walked out and said in a calm voice. Mu Ling, Pei Zishuan and the rest regained their senses and immediately surrounded them. Come down. This is our prey. For a moment, the two sides were in a stalemate. The people standing in front of the iron-hide scarlet dragon sized up Mu Ling and the others, then laughed. Yours? What a joke. You think you can kill an iron-hide scarlet dragon with just the few of you? The person who spoke looked at them from the corner of his eyes and said in a threatening tone, furthermore, we found it and it's our prey. Who dares to snatch it from us? Humph. You're going overboard. Mu Ling stared at them and said in a low voice, we're not trying to snatch it from you. You're the ones who want to snatch our prey. So what? The disciples looked at Mu Ling. You want this iron-hide scarlet dragon? Can you beat us? As he spoke, he glanced at the dozen or so people. That's right, can you beat us? You dare to snatch our prey? Do you want to die? Ha, if you dare to fight us, don't blame us for not showing mercy. If you don't want to be beaten up, then leave quickly. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite. Hearing those words, Mu Ling and the others' faces turned ugly. There were 18 people on the other side, and all of them were cultivators at the peak of the nascent soul stage. On their side, except for him, Pei Zishuan, and Lin Qingjin, who had reached the peak of the nascent soul stage, the others were either at the middle or early stage of the nascent soul stage. Moreover, they had just gone through a fierce battle and were all injured. If they were to fight, they would definitely not be their match. However, they couldn't just watch them take away the prey that should have belonged to Mu Jiao. Fight it out with them. I don't believe that I can't beat them. Guiziki gritted his teeth and clenched his fists, ready to step forward. The others also gripped their swords and prepared to fight. Seeing this, the other party sneered and also prepared to fight. However, at this moment, Fengjiu, who had been silent all this while, glanced at those people and said to Mu Ling and the rest, "Are you all tired? Let's go to the side and rest." Rest? They were startled and frowned, but that iron-hide scarlet dragon. That was a prey that he had obtained with great difficulty, so how could he give it up so easily? Chapter 3090. Give it to them. But... Guiziki wanted to say something but saw Fengjiu walk to a nearby tree and sit down. Seeing this, Mu Ling and Pei Zishuan couldn't help but look at each other. Give it to them. Why did they feel that Mujio wouldn't hand over his prey to others? But seeing that he didn't say anything, they didn't say anything either. They just said, "Let's go." They helped Su Kaiji, who was unconscious under the tree behind them, to the place where Fengjiu was sitting. They thought that he had changed his position because there was the smell of blood there. Hence, they didn't think too much about it. They sat down under the tree and saw Mujio pick up some branches and start a small fire. They were puzzled as they saw him take out a round biscuit and roast it in the fire. Seeing that he didn't say anything, Mu Ling and the rest thought that he was in a bad mood and said apologetically, "Mujio, we're sorry." Being in the same team as them, not only did they fail to protect him, they even lost the prey that he had painstakingly killed. They had really let down their honored master. Hearing this, Fengjiu smiled. "There's nothing to be sorry about. Don't mind it. Sit down and rest for a while." The disciples guarding the ironclad dragon saw that they didn't dare to fight with them and couldn't help but laugh. "Cowards! I thought that you would dare to fight with us. But I didn't think that you don't even have the guts to fight. Brothers, don't bother about them. Let's quickly take the useful items from the ironclad dragon and split the skin." As these people spoke, their words were filled with smiles and excitement. They did not take Mu Ling and the others seriously. After all, the disparity in strength between them was obvious. Even if they wanted to fight, they would have to see if they could defeat them. Mu Ling and the others sat there and watched. Their hearts were still filled with anger. They had been injured so badly by the ironclad dragon and in the end, the prey had been snatched away by others. They couldn't take it lying down. The cool breeze blew gently. Fengjiu was still baking the pancakes with a serious expression. She didn't even look in that direction. She fanned herself with her sleeves, and as the smoke dispersed, the aroma of the pancakes filled the air. As time passed, cheers could be heard from the other side. It turned out that the iron skin of the iron-hide scarlet dragon had been peeled off. However, at this moment, this iron-hide scarlet dragon's tendon is also a rare treasure. Which one of you has better saber techniques? Take out the dragon tendon. Let me. He shook his head and said, "Strange, why do I feel like my head is a little..." Before he could finish his sentence, he fell to the ground. "My head too." Bang bang. One by one, they fell down without any warning. It was so fast that it was shocking. Mu Ling and the rest were shocked. They stood up instinctively. What's going on? But at this moment, Mujio took out some water to extinguish the fire and threw the pancakes into the fire. He stood up and clapped his hands. "I used some medicine. We don't have to waste energy fighting with them, and we can also get them to help us peel off the skin of the ironclad dragon. We killed 2 birds with 1 stone." As she spoke, she smiled at the stunned crowd and walked up to them. She took all their space rings and other things before crushing their teleportation tablets. Chapter 3091. Looking at this scene, Mu Ling and the others were all dumbfounded and couldn't react. Robbing the treasures of those peak nascent soul stage disciples and then crushing their teleportation jade to cut off their training in the mystic realm. It had to be said that this was too ruthless. However, what they didn't expect was that after Mujio crushed the teleportation jade tablets of those disciples, he took out a small knife and went forward to pick out the dragon tendon of the iron-hide red dragon. "I'll take this beast crystal and this dragon tendon. You guys can divide the rest," Fengjiu said, and put away the 2 things. Of course, she also put the treasures of the more than a dozen peak Yuanying stage disciples into her space. Seeing him so valiant, the others didn't dare to say a word of objection. Moreover, they couldn't object at all. Everything was done by him and the trouble was also solved by him. Now that he even divided the prey among them, what else could they say? Nothing could be said. "This, Mujio, this is the prey that you killed. Why don't you keep all these for yourself?" They didn't do anything and really felt embarrassed to take his things. Everyone has helped. I've already gotten 2 good things. I can't take all the good things. She chuckled and said to them, "You guys hurry up and divide the things, in case some other people come and fight over it." Hearing this, Mu Ling and Pei Zishuan looked at each other and nodded. "All right, then let the 2 of us divide it." The 2 of them distributed some of the Ironhide dragon's skin to each of them and collected the valuable items. Finally, they burned the rest of the Ironhide dragon's carcass. As the flames burned, the huge Ironhide red dragon was left with a pile of ashes. Because the ferocious beast in this area had been killed, this place was relatively safe. They were not in a hurry to leave. They planned to rest here for the night and continue their journey tomorrow. "I'll walk around and see if there are any spiritual herbs to pick. You guys rest here. I'll be back in a while," Fengjiu said and prepared to walk around this area and pick some spiritual herbs. "We'll go with you." Gretchen and Lin Yusher stood up. "No need, you guys should rest for a while too. Don't worry, I'll be back before dark." Seeing this, Mu Ling and the rest said, "Then be careful. Don't go too far. Remember to come back before it gets dark." "Okay, I got it." She smiled and went to look for the medicine alone. Seeing Mu Jio walk away, the men with the surname Chen couldn't help but ask, "Mu Ling, is this Mu Jio really from your clan? How could he be so powerful? Looks like he's stronger than you." One couldn't blame him for thinking this way. When they were in danger, it was Mu Jio who had saved them. In addition, Mu Jio had cured Su Kaiji's poison and saved his life. And before that, Mu Jio had quietly dealt with those dozen people and even plundered their treasures. No matter how he looked at it, he didn't seem like a disciple of their immortal sect. They looked like bandits. Hearing this, Mu Ling smiled and said, "Yeah. He's a member of my Mu clan. My master said it himself. How could he be wrong?" Chapter 3092. Mu Ling laughed bitterly in his heart. If there was such a person in the Mu family, how could he not know? But before this, he did not know that the Mu family had such a person like Mu Jio. Moreover, how long had it been since they entered? After only a day of interaction, he had roughly figured out that Mu Jio was definitely a person who hid his strength well. "All right, let's all rest. We will rest here tonight. Arrange for people to take turns to keep watch. Those who are injured, quickly sit cross-legged and recuperate." As Pei Zishuan spoke, he looked at them with a serious expression and said, "We have just entered today and we have already suffered such heavy losses. We have to reflect on this problem. We have to train here for 3 months and no one knows what we will encounter in these 3 months. However, we will not be so lucky every time. We have to be mentally prepared." His words made everyone fall into deep thought. This time, they had encountered a 5th-level god-level Ironhide Scarlet Dragon. If Mu Jio had not used medicine to subdue it, they would have all died under the sharp claws of the Ironhide Scarlet Dragon. There were also the disciples from the other celestial sects. If they had rushed up to fight with them, they would have suffered a crushing defeat. In an instant, everyone's expression turned serious. Unknowingly, Mu Jio seemed to have become their backbone. A youth who everyone thought was weak and in need of protection had become the person who protected them. This made them feel a little ashamed. On the other side, Fengjiu was picking spirit herbs in the surroundings. Due to the Ironhide Scarlet Dragon's presence in this area, very few people and ferocious beasts came here. The number of spirit herbs that survived was also higher, especially when she occasionally found a rare and precious spirit herb. However, she had come out to look for spirit herbs in this area. Secondly, she wanted to find the Ironhide Scarlet Dragon's cave. She felt that there would definitely be precious spirit herbs in the Ironhide Scarlet Dragon's cave. Although this area was densely covered in trees and weeds, the iron-hide scarlet dragon was a huge beast and it was not difficult to find its cave. As expected, after searching carefully, she found a cave. The entrance of the cave was huge and there were no weeds growing in front of the cave due to frequent walking. There were only 2 large trees that partially covered the entrance of the cave. As she walked inside, she released her divine sense and paid attention to the movements in the cave. After entering, she found that there was not a single hole that went straight to the bottom. Instead, there were 2 more holes on the left and right. They turned left and right and led deeper into the cave. Because there was no light in the cave and it was pitch black, she was not in a hurry to go in. Instead, she took out the night pearl and carefully checked the 3 entrances. Finally, she found footprints on the ground near the left entrance of the cave. Only then did she walk in. The luminous pearl in his hand illuminated the cave, making it as clear as day. She walked deeper into the cave. Not long after, she encountered another forked cave entrance. She looked around carefully and finally chose another cave to walk into. After turning left and right, she arrived at the innermost cave. As soon as she entered, she was dazzled by the mountain of treasures and crystals. Hiss! There are actually so many treasures. Chapter 3093. What a fortune! So many crystals and treasures, where did he get them from? She walked forward to take a look and couldn't help but grin. With a flick of her sleeve, she collected all the treasures into the space. She walked around inside and made sure that there was nothing else useful before leaving. Walking outside, she was in a good mood and could not help but hum a tune. She plucked some spirit medicine, planning to bring it back for the disciple who had lost his hand. Perhaps it was because of the death of the 5th-ranked divine beast, the iron-hide scarlet dragon, some small beasts came running out. She caught 2 snakes and stuck them on a tree branch before walking back, intending to use them to make a pot of snake soup. On the other side, Mu Ling and the rest were roasting meat. The smell of meat was gradually wafting out. Seeing that the sky was getting dark and Mu Jiu had not returned, they could not help but worry. Did he go too far? Could he have gotten lost? Probably not. Mu Jiu does not look like someone who would get lost. Lin Qingjin said with a smile. As he roasted the meat, he smiled and said, he said he would be back before dark. Maybe he is on his way back. As he said that, he heard Gwaziki laugh. Look, he is back. Everyone looked over and saw Fingzhou walking over with a tree branch on her shoulder. Behind the tree branch were 2 snakes. Everyone was stunned. She went to catch snakes. Mu Jiu, why did you catch snakes? Gwaziki shouted and asked. I thought it would be cold at night in the forest, so I caught 2 snakes to make snake soup to warm everyone up. As she spoke, she had already arrived in front of everyone and put the 2 snakes aside. Making soup. All right, I will do it. Lin Qingjin stood up and hung the 2 snakes on the tree. As he was about to skin them, he suddenly turned back. That's not right. We did not bring a pot. Hearing that, Fengzhou laughed. I have one. She took out a pot from her space. Seeing this, Lin Qingjin looked at her deeply and said, Mu Jiu, I did not expect you to bring a pot when you go out. Looks like you do go out often. I don't like to eat fasting pills. I like to eat grains and meat, so I always bring everything with me when I go out. She smiled and sniffed the barbecued meat. It smells really good. I'm glad you like it. I baked it. Lin Qingjin smiled and began to skin the snakes. After dealing with the 2 snakes, he shouted, Ziki, make a small fire. We can make soup later. All right, Gwaziki replied and also started to help. I've gathered some spirit medicine that can heal broken bones. Once I've finished refining it, I'll wrap it up for you. Fengzhou said to the disciple who was sitting at the side supporting his arm. That disciple was startled and somewhat surprised. He looked at Fengjiu and said gratefully, "Many thanks." Fengjiu smiled and walked to the side. She crushed the spirit medicine and mixed it together. Then, she used the fire to boil it into a paste. Only then did she bandage the disciple again. After using a tree branch to fix the broken arm, she tied a piece of cloth around it. Then, she wrapped the cloth around the neck and broken arms so that he did not need to support it. She then said, "All right, you have to change the medicine once a day. It will heal faster. Keep this ointment. It's very effective in healing broken bones." She packed the rest of the ointment and handed it to him. Chapter 3094. "Sure," Mu Ling said with a smile. "We're all disciples of the cerulean planet. We should take care of each other here. Since you're alone, you can come with us." Hearing this, the disciple smiled happily and said excitedly, "I know you guys. You're the disciples of Venerable CK and Venerable Muaxian. I'm Zhenghai, a disciple of Venerable Ijin. Mujo, do you want to add anything to the soup?" "I don't have any ingredients to add soup to it." Lin Chengjin asked Fengjiu as he cut the snake meat into pieces and put them into the pot to cook. "I have some here. I'll add it," Fengjiu said and walked over to help. As the sky gradually darkened, the temperature in the dense forest quickly dropped. Everyone sat around the bonfire, eating barbecued meat and drinking snake soup. They chatted as they ate, enjoying a different kind of atmosphere. However, looking at the unconscious Su Kaiji, they were still a little worried. They asked, "Mujo, when will Kaiji wake up? Is it still suitable for him to train in here?" Fengjiu swallowed the meat in his mouth and said, "He'll wake up tomorrow. Don't worry, his poison has been cured and he'll be fine." Hearing him say this again and again, everyone nodded their heads. It was good that he was fine. If something happened to him and he couldn't train anymore, it would be too cruel for him. They had prepared for a long time for this training. It was an annual training, but some people might not be selected. After all, there were only 100 spots. Fengjiu stood up after eating and said, "I'm going to wash my face and change my clothes. I'll be back in a while." As she said this, she walked towards a water source not far away. As soon as she left, Guiziki stood up and followed her. "Wait for me, I want to go too." Hearing this, Fengjiu was stunned. She looked back at him and said with a strange expression, "Then you come too." She stopped and waited for him. When he was beside her, they walked towards the water source together. The water source in the dense forest was hidden in the weeds. The two of them parted the weeds and saw the water source. It flowed from top to bottom. The water source wasn't very big, but the water was very clear. There were some rocks on the side and a few leaves on the water's surface drifted with the water. Fengjiu squatted down to wash her face and stood up. Seeing Guiziki about to take off his clothes, she shouted, "Wait. What's wrong?" Guiziki looked at her. "You're going to bathe here?" "Yes." Guiziki nodded. Looking at the stream, he said, "This stream isn't small. Taking a bath shouldn't be a problem." "Then you bathe first." "I'll wait until you're done," she said. Hearing this, Guiziki looked at him strangely. "Let's shower together. We're all men, what's there to be afraid of?" Fengjiu's mouth twitched. She smiled. "I'm not used to it." Seeing that he really didn't intend to take off his clothes, Guiziki thought for a moment and said, "Then how about this? You bathe first. I'll keep a lookout for you in case any small beasts come." "Okay." Fengjiu didn't refuse and agreed immediately. She let him walk 10 meters away and then set up an array around them. Only then did she take off her clothes and take a quick bath to wash away the smell of blood on her body and her fatigue. Chapter 3095. Mujo. He called out twice, but there was still no response. He did not hear the sound of Mujio bathing either. He walked towards the stream worriedly, but after taking a few steps, he was stunned. Array formation. He was stunned and stood there in a daze. Mujio set up an array formation here. He found it strange and continued walking. He thought that it was just an array formation. Could it be that he could not break it? However, he didn't expect that he would come out of the array after circling around it once. He didn't give up and continued to walk inside. He chose another path, but in the end, he still circled back to the starting point from the array. "That's strange," said Gwaziki. He scratched his head and stared ahead. Now, he was certain that he could not enter the array formation. "Ziki, what are you doing here?" Lin Qingjin walked over and looked at him strangely as he stood there and muttered. "You came at the right time. Aren't you good at array formations? Come, try and see if you can walk over." Gwaziki pulled him forward. Hearing that, Lin Qingjin was slightly stunned. Array formation. He looked ahead and was slightly surprised. Who set up the 9-palace maze here? Where's Mujio? It should be Mujio. He's bathing in the stream in front. It's fine for a man to bathe, but why would he set up an array formation to prevent people from passing? It's strange. Gwaziki said. The more he could not see, the more curious he became. He said to Lin Qingjin, "Why don't you try? Can you see through it?" Lin Qingjin smiled and shook his head. "That's not good." He said, since Mujio set up the 9-palace maze, he naturally does not want people to disturb him. Let's wait outside for him to come out. Since he had said so, Gwaziki didn't say anything more. He just found a place to sit down and waited outside. Lin Qingjin looked at the array formation in front. His eyes flashed and he smiled. He waited there with Gwaziki. Inside, Fengjiu took off the disguise on his face and carefully washed his face. Then, he changed into the clothes given by the sect. After looking him up and down, he removed the formation and walked out. Once the formation was removed, she had only taken a few steps when she saw Gwaziki and Lin Qingjin sitting nearby, chatting. She walked over and said, "I'm done bathing. Are you two going to bathe as well? Why are you being so secretive about taking a bath? Mujio, you're so weird." Gwaziki stared at him and said. Fengjiu smiled. "It's just a habit. Go ahead. I'll go back first." With that, he walked away. Lin Qingjin smiled. After watching the figure leave, he walked towards the stream. After washing his face, he filled it with water and went back. The stream was flowing water. The source of the water flowed downwards. Even if someone had just taken a bath here, the water was still clean water flowing down from above. Hence, Gwaziki suppressed the doubts in his heart and quickly took off his clothes and walked into the stream to take a bath. After Fengjiu went back, he found a big tree and leaped onto it to rest. He did not care about the people below and fell into a deep sleep. Mu Ling arranged for people to take turns keeping watch. Hence, the night was peaceful. The next morning, when Su Kaiji woke up and groaned because of the pain from his wound, they all woke up. Chapter 3096. Su Kaiji opened his eyes and looked at her in confusion. "I'm not dead yet. Senior brother Su, it was Mujio who saved you. The poison in your body has been cured," Lin Yushir said. She smiled and helped him sit up. She handed him some water. "Drink some water first." Su Kaiji took the water and drank a few mouthfuls. He rolled up his pants and saw that it was bandaged. Other than feeling a little weak and tired, he didn't seem to feel any other discomfort. "Su Kaiji, it's good that you're awake." Pei Zishuan walked over and smiled. "You scared us to death. Fortunately, you're fine." That's right, these are your things. Put them away and eat something later. We still need to continue walking. Pei Zishuan handed over his portion of the iron scarlet dragon skin and some other things to him and told him to put them away. Su Kaiji took a look and couldn't help but be stunned. You guys killed that iron scarlet dragon. We didn't kill it. It was Muzhou. Pei Zishuan said and told him what happened. Hearing his words, Su Kaiji was slightly shocked. He raised his head and looked at Muzhou, who was still sleeping on the tree. He was shocked. He was actually that powerful. If he was so powerful, why did their master still want them to protect him? Fengzhou turned around on the tree. He yawned and rubbed his eyes. Seeing that it was getting late, he stretched and lazily leaned against the tree. Muzhou, thank you for saving me. Su Kaiji thanked Fengzhou, who was on the tree. Fengzhou jumped down and said, no need to thank me. It was just a small matter. That's right, you need to change the bandage on your leg. Yusher, help him change it. Fengzhou said to Lin Yusher, who was beside him. Okay. Lin Yusher replied and untied the bandage. Muzhou, we ate some leftover roasted meat from last night. Here's a piece for you. Mu Ling handed over a piece of roasted meat. No need, you guys eat. I'm not hungry. She shook her head. She was thinking in her heart, where was the 1,000-year black spirit tendon? If they were to search in such a large forest, the chances were too slim. As she thought this, she looked at the crowd and asked, have you guys heard of the 1,000-year black spirit tendon? Hearing this, everyone was slightly surprised, especially Mu Ling, Pei Zishuan, and Lin Qingjin. They looked at each other before looking at him. You want to find the 1,000-year black spirit tendon? So this was the reason why he came in. Yes, Fengzhou nodded and asked, have you heard of which forest it is in? You've asked the right person. Lin Qingjin revealed a smile. When I came in last year, I just happened to see the 1,000-year-old black spirit tendons. However, there were powerful vicious beasts guarding it, so no one dared to approach. Hearing this, Fengzhou's eyes lit up. Which forest? That's in the depths. It's still quite far from here. Lin Qingjin said with a smile, but since you want to go, we can go with you. But, didn't they say that there were powerful vicious beasts there? What can we do if we go? The disciples surnamed Shin were somewhat hesitant, unwilling to take this risk. If you know the place, you can draw the route on the map for me. I can go myself. Fengzhou smiled and looked at Lin Qingjin. Chapter 3097. We are also heading towards the deeper regions. Since that's the case, let's go there. Mu Ling said and looked at the others. What do you all think? Everyone looked at each other and nodded. All right, we agree. Today, Pei Zishuan will be the leader. You will arrange everything today. Mu Ling looked at Pei Zishuan and said. Seeing this, Pei Zishuan looked at Su Kaiji and asked, can you walk? Yes. Su Kaiji replied and helped him up. It's nothing, just a little pain. Then let's set off. Don't stay here for too long. Hence, the group left and walked forward. They protected the injured person in the middle and there were people guarding in front and behind. Along the way, they didn't encounter any more danger. Until they left the Iron Sheet Red Dragon's territory, they gradually saw the appearance of ferocious beasts. Along the way, Pei Zishuan led the group to kill ferocious beasts and collect beast crystals as well as some useful items. After a day, they didn't meet anyone from the other immortal sects. Along the way, they killed ferocious beasts and their robes were more or less stained with blood. They were no longer as clean and white as before. On the other hand, Fengzhou didn't fight much along the way. Instead, he picked some spiritual herbs. Although they weren't very precious, they were usually useful. After Pei Zishuan and the group killed a ferocious beast that attacked them, he looked around and saw Mujio squatting not far away and picking spiritual herbs. He couldn't help but walk over and ask, "Mujio, these are all common spiritual herbs. Why are you picking them too?" Hearing this, Fengjiu looked at him and smiled. Although they are common, they are often used. Look, this herb is a spiritual herb that stops bleeding and is also very effective for recovering from sword wounds. I collected it and have time to concoct some. It's a bottle of miraculous elixir. With that, she smiled and said to Pei Zishuan, "Moreover, the effect of the elixir is incomparable to other elixirs. Aren't you interested in the ferocious beasts?" He saw that he had only been picking herbs along the way and rarely did anything else. They wanted to share some of the game with him, but he said he didn't want it. "We both took what we needed. Plus, I didn't do anything." She softly smiled and placed the spiritual medicine back into her space. "I found a fruit tree in front of us. Let's take a look and pick a lot of fruits." Shanghai raised his voice and handed the fruits to everyone. "I've just tasted them. They taste pretty good." Everyone accepted the food with a smile. After wiping it on their robes, they began to eat. Fengjiu also took two to eat. Seeing that everyone was sitting around and resting, he walked over. "I also found a hot spring in front. It's quite big. Let's go soak in it later," Shanghai said as he took a bite of the fruit. "Hot spring. Then let's go take a bath first and change our clothes. My body is stained with the smell of ferocious beast's blood. It smells fishy all the way," Lin Yushir said as she lowered her head and pulled at her blood-stained clothes. She frowned slightly. "Then you go with Gretchen. I'll stand guard for you," Lin Chengjin said, looking at the two of them. "Thank you, brother." Lin Yushir thanked him happily. Chapter 3098. At the hot spring, light smoke curled up. It was rare for the two women to have a warm bath here, so their faces were overflowing with happy smiles. They quickly took off their clothes and soaked in the hot spring. Because Lin Chengjin was guarding them, they could take a bath without worry. The sound of laughter spread out, and it was very pleasant in the forest. Hearing the laughter behind him, Lin Chengjin couldn't help but shake his head. He closed his eyes and sat cross-legged, but he released his divine sense to guard the hot spring. Perhaps it was because the laughter spread out, but not far away, a group of people heard the laughter of a woman. Their eyes flashed. "Listen, it sounds like a woman's voice. There's also the sound of water," another person said, his eyes lighting up. "It sounds like a woman is bathing." As soon as these words were spoken, a different kind of light flashed across the eyes of the dozen or so men. There was some eagerness in their eyes. "How about we go take a look? Let's see which immortal sex disciple is actually bathing here." The dozen or so people were all men. When they heard this, some of them couldn't put down their faces and said, "That's not good. What are you afraid of? Let's secretly take a look and see who it is," a lecherous man said. Without waiting for the others to agree, he took the lead and headed towards the direction of the voice. When the others saw this, although they were a bit tempted, they still had a sense of propriety. They didn't want to do anything that would lower their status, so they sat down and rested. Lin Chengjin, who was sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed, suddenly frowned. He opened his eyes and shouted, "Who is it?" With his shout, Gretchen and Lin Yushir, who were still in the hot spring, were startled and quickly put on their clothes. When Pei Zishuan heard Lin Chengjin shout, he immediately stood up and walked towards the direction of the voice. The man who was pushing through the weeds to see what was going on didn't even see the two people in the water when a figure flashed in front of him and he was kicked flying. That person let out a muffled groan. Just as he was about to get up from the ground, he was stepped back by Lin Chengjin. Before he could react, a fist smashed towards his eyes. Shameless. With a deep curse, a fist landed, accompanied by a miserable scream. At this moment, a dozen or so cultivators surrounded him. Let him go. Who is it? Mu Ling and company also surrounded him. For a moment, the two groups of people faced each other and the atmosphere was tense. On the other side, Lin Yusher and Gretchen quickly put on their clothes. Their wet hair dripped down their backs, and they had embarrassed expressions. Feng Jiu glanced at the two of them and said, "Dry your hair first." The two of them nodded and then went to the side to dry the water stains on their hair with their spiritual aura. This person peeked at the two of them bathing. Lin Qingjin stared at the man with a cold expression, Cing. Chapter 3099. The man knew that he was in the wrong and his face turned red, but he didn't say anything. When the others saw this, they also knew that the man was in the wrong and immediately said, he was just confused for a moment. "Brother, please be magnanimous. Moreover, this brother has already taught him a lesson. I think we should just let it go." Seeing that the person who spoke was an older man and his words were reasonable, Lin Qingjin paused for a moment before releasing his foot from the man's chest. He stepped back and said, "I'll let you go this time. If there's a next time, I'll cripple you." Lin Qingjin glanced coldly between the man's legs. That glance inexplicably made the man shudder. The dozen people on the other side quietly sized up Lin Qingjin and the others. Finally, they said, "So you're disciples of Cerulean Planet. Nice to meet you." Seeing that they had cold faces and had no intention of talking to them, the man smiled and said, "We're also resting here. When we came over earlier, we just happened to catch a delicious fierce beast. Since you're all disciples of the immortal sect, why don't you eat barbecue with us? Take it as an apology from us." "No need," Pei Zixuan said. After glancing at them, he waved his hand and signaled for everyone to go back. Seeing this, the disciples watched them leave and didn't stop them. When they returned to the tree where everyone had gathered, Lin Yusher and Gretchen said apologetically, "It's all our fault. We were too careless. If they hadn't thought that there was no one else here and played to their heart's content, they wouldn't have attracted those people. It's not your fault. Sit down," Pei Zixuan said and gestured for the two to sit. "Those people are disciples of the Qingqing Immortal Sect," Mu Ling said and looked at everyone. "They're not weak and they're resting not far from us. We should be more vigilant. Moreover, the Qingqing Immortal Sect has many alchemists and pharmacists. They're better at using medicine. It's best if we stay away from them." "Okay," everyone responded. As the sky was getting dark, they prepared to rest here. Feng Jiu and the others were sitting cross-legged around the bonfire. There were a few people guarding the surroundings. Not far away, those people were also sitting around the bonfire. They were roasting their prey, and the aroma was spreading out. "You're just going to watch me get bullied? Are you just going to watch and not help?" The man who had been kicked and punched by Lin Qingjin earlier looked at them angrily. "Don't forget that we are from the Immortal Sect. If they hit me, it's the same as hitting your face. Don't tell me you don't know that." Hearing this, one of the men laughed softly, "Then you can only blame yourself for not being capable enough. You went to peek at a woman bathing, but you didn't see anything and got caught. However, you did let us see the strength and numbers of those people. I estimate that they should be weaker than us. Then should we wipe them all out? They might have a lot of good stuff on them. The people of Cerulean Planet are good at fighting. Our Qingqing Immortal School has a lot of pills. If we fight them, we may not be able to beat them. However, if we use pills, they may not be our opponents." The man revealed a meaningful smile and looked at the crowd. Hearing this, the others' eyes flashed. They must have a lot of good stuff on them.